you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Back to the Top 6 Show. Done deal. Here we go for Manchester United. The first one of their summer. Mason Mount will complete his move to Old Trafford. 55 million plus 5 in add-ons. Man United don't go above their 60 million pound limit. The majority of Chelsea are happy. Maybe not so much with Man United, and we'll delve into that in the show. But the manager, Erik ten Hag, gets one of his number one targets for the summer. He brings Mount to Old Trafford, a deal they've been working on for a couple of weeks now. Chelsea finally compromising on their first price was 80, but the most recent one of 65 million down to 60 in totality, 55 as the base. We're going to talk about Urian Timber to Arsenal, which is imminent. It's in the final stages and will complete. And a 70 million pound bid expected from Chelsea for Caicedo very, very soon. We're touching on the Man United takeover and reviewing the deals of the last few days. Maddison to Tottenham. Of course, Arsenal doing a madness with Kai Havertz and smashing Manchester City to the signing of Declan Rice. We'll be looking into all of that and much more. Any comments you've got, get them in. Of course, we'll prioritize our member chats and our super chats as well. But hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure the bell notification button is turned on as well so you don't miss any of our live streams. But to start with Mason Mount, gentlemen, he signs for Manchester United. Staffy, I know you're not happy about this. I know you're fuming as a Man United fan. Talk to me.
Terrible, terrible, terrible day. My opinion, at least, before anyone comes at me. Because people have been very angry at me for expressing my opinion. Because I guess I misunderstood what football YouTube is. I forgot that I'm supposed to go up here and not say my opinion on the signing because I'm not Ten Hag. You know, listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It happened. Ten Hag got his signing. I'm going to try to back the manager as much as I can. I don't agree with it, but as a fan, that's my job to support the club, support the manager. But I'm not happy with it. I don't think it's the right signing for so many reasons. Been talking about it for weeks. You know, I've been analytical about it, tactical about it. You know, the way I look at it, it's just another wrong signing. It's not what we need. I've spoken many times about what we need. We needed someone deeper in the midfield. A lot of people identified Eriksen as that weakness in the midfield. We went and got a player that plays absolutely different than Eriksen. He's not the same profile player, but everyone's trying to tell me P&P, legs, energy. But how about everything else? You know, like there's a lot of things. I've been waiting for weeks for someone to convince me why the signing is right, and no one can really give me an argument. And Chelsea fans are laughing at us. I have Wintersurfer messaging me as soon as that happens. Don is probably going to dance on my grave right now. You know, there's a reason why everyone's laughing, because they know they got to steal 60 million. After all that, doesn't look like we're going to sign another big midfielder. So it makes me even more upset. Terrible, terrible day. I honestly have no more words to say about this.
I understand no one's been able to convince you, and I don't think anybody will be able to, because you're kind of set in your way. What do you think it is that Ten Hag sees in him, though? So I get your opinion, but Ten Hag made him a priority signing before preseason. Ten Hag rates him. Ten Hag's success rate of his signing so far has been pretty good. I know you're someone who backs Ten Hag. Clearly, he sees something in him. What do you believe that is?
I don't know. People told me he's a final third player, so the only thing I can think of is he's trying to win that ball a little bit higher up the pitch, which I understand. Which, if you really think of it, we tried to do that with Fred this season, because if you remember, Terry, there's a lot of games where Fred was the most advanced midfielder that we have, even over Bruno, and we usually are used to Bruno being the most advanced one. But Fred, we find him in so many situations where he's like pressing right next to the striker, right behind the striker. And I think that's what he's trying to do with Mount. But that's not my issue, because I do think he's an upgrade on Fred, because that's what everyone was able to just tell me, like, hey, isn't he an upgrade on McTominay and Fred? Well, most of us here on the panel are an upgrade on Fred and McTominay, so that doesn't really say anything for me. I'll take Egal over Fred. It doesn't, like, it's not the standard to me, you know what I mean? So I get that part, but I'm not paying 60 million to get a replacement for Fred. And then when you play him, because he's going to start, let's be honest, he's going to start for us. You're not paying 60 million for him not to start. I just don't see where he offers us in terms of like what we already have missing in this team. Because when I look at our target last season, our target was Frankie de Jong, okay? He was supposed to come in that team and start next to Casemiro and Fred. Now, you couldn't get him and you went and got Mount. Is he the same profile as Frankie de Jong? No, he's not. If he was like a lesser version of Frankie de Jong, I would understand, because that's what we did with Eriksen. We got Eriksen because he's similar to Frankie de Jong. He's not as good, but he's the same idea of player. Mount is just not it. I'm just looking at it. It's another player, and you already know how I feel about Bruno, Terry. We talked about this so many times. I hate how wasteful he is on the ball when it comes to the easy part of the game. I don't care about his assists and chance creation. I'm talking about more of like ball retention. We're adding another player who plays a very similar style to Bruno, who's going to give the ball away a lot, who doesn't retain the ball well. He's not intelligent on the ball. He doesn't keep the ball well. We've went to so many games, away from home especially, and we got spanked because we can't keep the ball. You lose the ball too much. So what did we do? We added another player that's going to do the same thing. Why do I need a player who's going to go get the ball back and has legs when I could just get a player who can retain the ball?
I understand.
If you can keep the ball, you don't have to win it back.
My question is, sorry, Mo, I'm going to handle this as a United fan. Sorry. Is the window shut today?
Oh, don't do that.
No, I'm saying, has the window shut today?
No, it hasn't.
So, do you know who else we're going to sign this summer? Do you know who else we're targeting? Do you know what else is in the pipeline?
Of course I don't know.
So the reason, again, the reports I read, and we can take them, you can take them as gospel, you can take them as nonsense, is Man United wanted 2 players through the door in and around the £50 million mark each before pre-season. So they get 2 of their targets in before pre-season. The biggest signings will come after sales are made. And right now, a lot of people ain't biting on what we're trying to sell. They're trying to drive the price down. And hopefully after the takeover goes through. So from Man United's point of view, it's about filling as many holes as possible before then. Some of the other targets of players that we would want to have that retention role, some of them you're looking at 100+ million, and Man United just don't have the totality of money available right now to do it and get it done. So I think there's a strategy to this. Clubs, I think there is a myth that's been created by YouTube fans and by Twitter especially, that the player you sign first is your number 1 target. And I don't necessarily think it works that way, because I don't believe Kovacic is the main person City are chasing this summer. I don't believe Kai Havertz is the main target of Arsenal this summer. I don't believe the goalkeeper of Tottenham was their main target, as an example. I don't believe Jackson is Chelsea's number 1 main target this year. So, look, Rice has been done at Arsenal, but nobody else, unless I'm mistaken, no other top team yet, you could maybe argue Tottenham with Maddison, to be fair, has signed their number 1 standout player yet. Tonali maybe at Newcastle. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. My thing to you is, Staffy, you're showing your bum right now. You're pulling your pants down. You're showing your bum far too early in this transfer window. I think that's what I think. I get your questions around Mason Mount. I hold the same ones. But I'm not panicking and angry. We're moving very, very quickly with the deal for Onana, who will transform our team in many, many ways. We are linked to other midfielders like the Caicedos and a few other names that are around. And I just think we should relax a little bit and watch this space. Now, if the club doesn't afford the money to the manager to sign a Caicedo or a Rice, that's a very different conversation. If there's only the money there to sign Rice in midfield at 55 million, and there isn't 100 million available for a Caicedo, because it then means we can't buy a striker and we can't buy a goalkeeper, that's very different from that. That should give you the understanding you need. So what I'm saying is, I think Man United fans, until that takeover is done, I think we have to sit back, give our opinions on players, but wait until the end of the window before we start casting aspersions over my manager's stupid, he's made a mistake, because we don't.
That's not what I said. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's not what I said.
What you're implying we shouldn't have bought Mason Mount. We should get a different kind of manager. That's focused player. That's focusing on the manager. The manager's got his hands tied behind his back right now because of the owners. So I think we have to be a little patient and a little bit calmer as fans, personally.
Yeah, but Terry, here's my issue. Everything you said, I agree with. But now, if you're being really honest, that this signing right now kind of funds that Caicedo move to Chelsea, because you know this was going to happen anyways, and all the news coming out that Don is laughing because he knows it's true. I'm looking at people around me. I'm looking at my neighbors here in the top 6. I'm looking at Colleen and Egal. Look at them. Like, their smile is ear to ear because they got their player. They got Rice. Okay, so my neighbors got Rice. The guy below me is getting Caicedo, okay? Even Kovacic, someone that I rate, went to City. Yes, he's not a super signing, but he's a better midfielder than Mount, in my opinion. This guy on the left over here, he got Maddison. I'm sitting here with Mason Mount. Everyone got better midfielders than me. And this is my issue with this. It's not only that we got Mount. If we would have got Mount on top of like players that I wanted. If you would have told me, Staffy, I'm gonna give you Caicedo and Mount, how do you feel about it? I'll be like, you know what? I'm a little bit sus about Mount, but we got Caicedo. That's the same thing that happened at Arsenal. A lot of them don't know if they want Havertz. They're gonna try it out and see how it goes. But you know why they don't complain too much? Because they still got Rice. These guys are gonna get Caicedo. They know Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. That's gonna be a good mix. This guy got Maddison. Finally, he's gonna see creativity in Spurs Stadium. They've been watching fossil football for years. For once, he's gonna be watching attacking football. What do I have to watch? I have to watch Mason Mount. I have to wake up at 7:30 in the morning to watch that. I can't promise that anymore. I might go on loan next season because I don't want to watch that.
I think you've got to grow thicker skin and stop letting other fans' happiness make you angry.
It's not even the fans. It's just like everyone is strengthening. That's what I'm trying to say.
What I've heard 4 times from you in 10 minutes is people are laughing at me and I can't take it.
No. But Terry, this is me putting it in a funny way where I'm relating it to
this
us.
is you funny. I hate to see you sad.
No. But I'll tell you, I'm relating it in a funny way where they're basically they're enjoying their transfers. The issue is I'm looking at everyone around us who's going to compete with us. If we're trying to compete next season or finish in the top 4 or whatever, everyone next to me has added better midfielders than me, and this is the issue that I am having. I got one like. When you look at everyone that was available this summer, we've arguably got the worst one. We didn't get the top one. We didn't get the second best one or the third best one. Mount, to me, when you gave me that list of when I gave you that list of players that I just listed, it would have been the last one I wanted from all these players that I listed. And that's
and I understand your issue with him. I just think we need to remain a bit patient around what else happens this window. It's still only the 29th of June. You know, still only the 29th of June. We're linked to Onana. We are linked. Listen, and Chelsea fans are very confident they're going to get Caicedo, and we'll move on to that. Let's just wait and see how the land lies over the next few days. There is some breaking news, and we'll get into it later, that Ajax and Arsenal have now reached a verbal agreement for the transfer of Urian Timber for a fixed rate of 42 million euros. That will rise to 47 million, but we'll get onto that later in the show. We have some super chats here. First one says, both are right and wrong. It's oxymoronic in itself. By the time we go through the takeover and other Man United problems, then 1, players we should have bought will be sold to other clubs. 2, asking price will be higher. Potentially, you could be right, but again, it's all about who I hear people taking out their frustration on. And what I'm seeing online is it being taken out on Ten Hag. But if it's because of the takeover and because you don't have the money, then your frustration, you shouldn't even mention the word talent, ID, or manager. It should be all about the owners have screwed us again. But I'm sure you've all ordered your kits. I'm sure you're all renewing your season tickets. I'm sure you're all doing everything to keep the Glazers in power for longer. So I've got no sympathy for people that fund the club and moan about the club. I can't do it. The girl pictured with me is not my girlfriend. Oh, Chike. Fair enough. I think he's saying that for your benefit, Colleen. I think he wants you to know he's single.
I think that's for a bit of you tell. Don't think that's for my benefit.
He's ready to mingle with Cole. Chike here says, I'm tired of people saying that, but if we sign Neymar, it's gonna hinder Rashford's growth. Where has this come from? It's Man United. I mean, I don't want Neymar because he's too injury prone. He'll sit on the bench for 2/3 of the season. Nothing to do with Rashi. There are loads of money and should be building for now. I'm just tired of excuses. I hear you with that. I hear you that a general excuse. I don't know where that's come from in terms of this conversation. Yeah. This here says, personally, I feel Mount in a 4-2-3-1 would be great, is what Guna Dan says.
Mount and great does not work in one sentence.
I think he's going to prove you wrong. I think he's going to ball out at Man United.
I would love to, Terry, but you know what? I've been doing this for years.
And you know why I don't trust people like you with your opinion on these things? You'll know why. Because I know you're part of that same group that said Rashi and Bruno will be phased out by Ten Hag, and Donny would ball out, and Sancho would ball out. I bet you were part of that.
That's gaslighting 101.
I guarantee you guys said, Martial, watch him come back. Iceman's back.
Let me do a Terry.
I guarantee you, all the people that delivered last year for Man United, you were like, they'll be phased out by the manager and won't. That's why I find it hard, Staffy.
Listen, Terry, I'm gonna do a Terry. I'll pay your rent for 1 year if you go and find a tweet where I said that. So if you can find evidence that I've said that, I'll pay your rent for a year.
Maybe I will, but I guarantee. Listen, I'm guaranteeing you, Mason Mount's gonna be a hit at Man United. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he'll be a hit. Tevin here says, man always calls out Arsenal for overreacting and is having a meltdown literally 2 weeks into the window. Man United will be fine. Something, I don't know what that's meant to say. Something, be surprised. I think they'll be surprised is what you mean. Yeah. Thank you, Tevin. This here says, to all those to all those Chelsea fans who endless abuse for not wanting Mount FC. Lewis, hold that. Flawless. I'm not stepping on. No plug for wanting you to have Mount, is what LJ Brown has got to say. Mount is 24 and Eric Ten Hag is our manager. Remember, AWB, trust is what, yeah, but Staffy don't like him either. So
I was about to tell you, you can ask Terry. I don't even want Aaron Bissaka, so...
Staffy don't like it. Staffy don't like it. Mount on 250k a week. He's not on 250k a week. It's 185,000 pounds a week is what he's agreed to. Ten Hag is building a counter-pressing side, not a possession side. I think that's the confusion with a lot of people. And that may just be it. Maybe we're not looking to build a team that's possession-based, Staffy.
Well, that's why I said I think it's not even about being counter-possession. I think he's trying to win that ball up the pitch. I've seen him try to do that too many times, and he can't do that with Eriksen. If that's the route he wants to go, listen, I don't want people to mistaken me for, because I'm giving my opinion for someone who doesn't support the club. I just don't support my club blindly, and I don't support my manager blindly.
Well, I think you're fair to challenge him. I want to ask some of the panel. Egal, what do you make of this signing of Mason Mount to Man United? Do you think United fans should be as angry as Staffy? Should they be a bit more relaxed? Should they just give the manager his time? How do you see it, Egal?
I think nowadays we need to look at the money as and take that to one side. Because I think the way the valuations in football are moving is making a player sound like a 60 million signing sound like a ridiculous fee, when in actual reality nowadays 60 million is closer to the 30, 40 that you'd pay for a role player just a couple of years ago. So nowadays, I think if you look at your team, you look at your squad, does Mason Mount make you better? I think he does. Personally, I don't think he's the game changer who's going to win you guys every game. But overall, your squad has gotten better. You've now taken away a position in your squad where you'd be more dependent on Fred and McTominay, and you've replaced it with Mason Mount, who, let's be honest, is more serviceable than those guys. Yes, you've had to pay a premium, but that also could be because he's English and he's coming from another English team. And I don't know about what your situation is with English quota. Could it be for that? What your other reasonings behind it outside of just the fact that Ten Hag wants him? What other reasons why you wanted the player is, but hey, you got him, and for the age and the player that he is, I don't think the price is too ridiculous. Nowadays, guys, 60 million is the new 30, 90 million is the new 60, 120 million is the new 80. That's what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Don, as a Chelsea fan, this guy was your player of the year a couple of times. He had 2 or 3 brilliant seasons when he first broke through, helped win you the Champions League. Are you worried that if he gets back into his best form for Man United and starts to deliver, could this be a thorn in the side for Chelsea moving forward, or are you just glad to get rid of him?
To be honest, with me, like my thoughts on Mason, I was happy keeping him in the squad. During the season when he wasn't performing, I said this guy needs to get protected because he's just not playing well. Like he needs to get taken out. But Staffy, you're being a bit harsh on him, man. You're speaking about him as like he's dead wood. He's not dead wood. He's had a poor season. He's had a poor season. Like Terry said, when he broke through, he was really good for us. Player of the season 2 years in a row. Obviously got that assist as well to win us the Champions League. And that Champions League run, he was one of our best players. So you're getting a good player, but my thoughts on him has always been the same. Like you still need better quality around him because I don't think Mason's going to be that guy to take you to the next level. But I do think that he suits you, suits how Ten Hag wants to play going forward. And when I've had a conversation about what makes more sense, what's the better deal between Havertz and Mount, I've said every single time I've been asked that question that Mount makes more sense because he's actually played in that role where I can see him in your midfield and he's done quite well there for us. So I think it's a good signing. I think you're going a bit over the top for now. I know you're frustrated because you're seeing Caicedo, you're seeing Rice, you're seeing all these big midfielders, big signings being made by other clubs. But for now, I think just relax a bit until the end of the window and see who else you bring in. But he's definitely a good addition. Like he's not a rubbish player. You've seen Ten Hag bring players back like Wan-Bissaka, who wasn't great. There's been players that he's been able to squeeze a lot out of. This is an England international, again, was starting for us week in, week out, playing well in various positions, So I think you've got a good signing here, but honestly, he's not going to take you to the next level as a starter, but he's definitely a good option to have. And like
he's not going to take me to the next level, but you're asking me to relax. So what are we doing here if we're not going to the next level?
Be patient. That's why I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Wait until the end of the window to see who else you bring in around him. That's how I see Mason working. If you're bringing him in as a starter, like week in, week out, and you're not bringing anyone else in of that level or even higher than him, then yeah, I don't think you're gonna go any further than what you did last season. But he's a good signing. It's a good signing that you've made. I know he hasn't been great for like a year, even for England, he hasn't been great, but he's a good player. He is a good player. You just need to get that form back.
It's certainly an interesting one. Other reports today as well, staying with Man United. We will get into big Caicedo news that's breaking as well. We are going to get into the Timber stuff on this show. So viewers, relax, just stay with us, hit like buttons, sit back and enjoy the show. Man United, I like to keep it club by club at a time. It makes it easier and cleaner. This is from Jacob Steinberg, who says Man United are ramping up their pursuit of the Inter goalkeeper Andre Onana, who wants to link up with Erik ten Hag, his former manager at Ajax. We've seen all the reports from Italy that bids are coming in at the end of this week. Unlike the Kim Min-jae reports, this is now translated into the British media. I think we've seen Fabrizio talk about it, Steinberg, Paul Joyce, and a number of other people. This still feels like it could become imminent. It still feels like it could happen as well. Are you more encouraged by this one, Staffy? Onana coming in to improve our goalkeeper situation?
110%. I've been wanting this signing, and I guess Mo, since he's the Inter fan, once I'm done, he can give us the best insight. But I didn't watch a lot of him. I've watched some of his games throughout the years. I think this guy has consistently improved. When you look at his earlier days, he used to make a lot of mistakes, and now he's at that age where I feel like he's in his prime. And I like a goalkeeper who is at 20. How old is he, Morgan? 27 going into 28. I like that age. That age, goalkeepers tend to prime a little bit later than outfield players, because they need that experience and composure in goal. And he has that. Other than that, the obvious thing is the way he plays from the back, which is something that we absolutely need. I think everyone who supports Man United can tell you that, as much as, not everyone, but we love De Gea, we love what he's done for the club, but it's time to move on. It's time to get, with the times, like people like Arsenal and City and Liverpool, people who have those goalkeepers that can play from the back, and they're much more better on the ball, and they can pass it out, and they can go long. They can do so much. That Champions League performance that I've seen from Onana was absolutely amazing. And once I saw that, I was like, listen, I understand Costa's much younger, but I would rather go for the older goalkeeper, because he's going to come in and he's going to stabilize that defense right away. He's going to make everyone around him feel much more confident. Varane is going to be much more confident when his goalkeeper has the ball, same as Lissandro, everyone else. Absolute magnificent signing.
Yeah, I will go to Mo. We spoke to Mo about it a few times. Colleen, Man United needs to improve this area. Most of our rivals have a goalie that's highly competent of playing out from the back. Many believe that Onana is the best in the business at this. Pep Guardiola has praised him, saying that he makes the team almost impossible to press with him in goal. How transformative do you think this could be for Man United and the way Ten Hag wants to play football?
It's bringing my mood down a little bit, Tel. I can't lie to you, because I was hoping that you'd stick with De Gea for a little bit longer, just so I can have a little bit more for the highlight reels and something to enjoy. But I think this has been something that's been quite divisive. It feels like, from an outsider looking at United fans, that I think there's a little bit of nostalgia of how well De Gea has done and been such a great servant for the club. But I think it's pretty clear the way Ten Hag wants to play and how top clubs want to play now. You need a bit of an upgrade, and I think it is now time to say goodbye to him. And it would have been nice if it was done on nicer terms, if it is the way for him to go this season. But it definitely is an upgrade for you guys. It's one that's been coming for the last couple of seasons. So I would be a little bit more happy. Maybe not as happy as us Arsenal fans, because I'm grinning ear to ear. But Staffy, I'd be a little bit cheerier, just a little bit.
I promise you I was. And then that's why I said I missed the feeling that I had about an hour ago, because I was in a better mood. I was like thinking of like, oh, how am I gonna go in the top 6 today and be all bubbly and stuff, and then the Mount stuff came out. And this is what it is,
But also, like, even with Mount, look at, if you even speak to any Chelsea fan, look at a lot of their squad from last season. There's very few who you can say performed well in the last 18 months at Chelsea, irrespective of their quality or their ceiling. There's probably very few that they'd want to not boot out and start afresh. So I do think there's a good chance for a lot of redemption for a lot of former / Chelsea players who are now on their way out the door. And I think this could be a good opportunity for Man United. Not quite Rice, not quite Caicedo.
We have some players in our team that already didn't perform last season. And my fan base wants certain players out because they haven't performed the last season or two. And that's fine. I understand that. But why am I going to take someone else's problem when I can't even solve my problem? Like,
But I think the
logic
problem's
doesn't make sense.
bigger than the person, though. I think in Chelsea's case, with a lot of players who are leaving the club, not all of them, but a lot of them, I think there's a lot of extra circumstances that we have to take into consideration. There's a lot of quality in Mount, but did he have a good season? No. Same goes for Havertz. But I think you've got to trust Ten Hag a little bit. He's only been there a season. See what he can do, and if he fails, then you can get your pitchforks out and be like, listen, you spent 60 million on him. It's not working. He's not even getting into the squad. But right now, maybe wait just a little bit.
You know what? I think.
I just want to say what's really key with that is this. You also, Staffy, and I'll hold you to account this season. I mean this in the nicest possible way. You can't be judging Mount against standards. You can't be judging Mount against attributes he doesn't hold. So you can't be judging him as a holding midfield player like Rice. You have to judge him for what he is, right? Which is an attacking midfield player, someone that creates. So what I mean by that is you can't be judging Declan Rice on the amount of goals and assists that he gets, surely. So vice versa with Mount, because I get that feeling, because that's what people do to Bruno. They focus on the things that Bruno isn't good at or in the team for. And they use that to shit on him as opposed to focusing on his actual role within the team. I've never seen anybody criticize Haaland for the amount of defensive clearances he makes per game or the amount of
he excels massively at something else, Terry.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
I agree. But so does Bruno Fernandes as a chance creator. What I'm saying with Mason Mount, we've got to judge him on what he is best at, which is meant to be playmaking, creating, helping the attacking team. Whether he starts deeper or starts further up the field, that is his job. No one believes Mount's coming in to be Iniesta or Xavi or Paul Scholes in the middle. We can't judge him as that because I know that's what Man United fans will do. They'll move the goalpost. Same as Onana. Like we can't judge him as a playmaker. He's coming in as a goalkeeper. So you judge him as one. And there's some more super chats I want to do here. The first one says, I'll go to the ones that are not Man United related a bit later. Mount is not a bad signing for Man United. It's not as big of a scam as we pulled on Arsenal for Kai Havertz, but he's better than what you had. The maddest bit about Havertz, Kovacic, and Mount is that I've seen Chelsea fans rip into all of them. They'll say, yes, Kovacic can progress the ball, but he does nothing with it once he's progressed it. So again, pointless. They'll talk about Kai Havertz being like weak and like flimsy and missing big chances. And then with Mason Mount, it was more ball retention and consistency this last season. But it's interesting how, depending on who signed who, like United, we want Kovacic. The Chelsea fans didn't want him either, but yet we do. So it's either you never want a reject, or is it what I think it more is? Like Lee Gunnar did this the other day. I don't want any player that Pep don't want, no matter how good they are. Until it was being announced that Mahrez might leave, then he wanted him. So rephrase what you meant, Lee, to I don't want rejects unless I like them, which is essentially what we're saying. Sorry, Egal, you were going to speak, bro. Sorry.
I was simply just going to say, do you guys believe Mason Mount will be starting week in, week out next to Bruno and Casemiro? Or is this a situation where he could be rotated in and out? Because I feel like based on how you use him, he deserves a little bit more criticism or not. So if he's not going to be someone who's going to be starting week in, week out every single game, and he's not going to be nailed on, then I think you're overreacting a little bit. But if he's just going to be part of the rotation and you're spending this kind of money for a rotation player, I feel like that's the going rate nowadays for a rotation player.
You could be. I think it depends on who else we sign. I really do. I think because Eriksen weren't bought to play like he was played, but we didn't get all the players in that the manager wanted. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see.
So wait, Terry, do you think you're going to sign another midfielder?
I hope so.
But in that same role, like that same Mason Mount role?
No, not in the same role. We won't buy another player with the same profile and skill set as Mason Mount. I want us to go and buy a Frankie de Jong or a Caicedo, somebody that's very different that could hold possession. But I agree, by the way, with Staffy. I'm just not as panicked as him. So I don't disagree with Staffy's opinions. I'm just not as panicked. That's maybe I'm older and
one thing I'll say about Mason when it comes to creativity, I wouldn't look at him as the guy that's the go-to guy that's gonna create all these chances for you. Like that's something that Ten Hag's gonna have to coach.
9 open play assists, and people want to tell me he's a playmaker.
It's gonna be Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is gonna be the main guy.
Yeah. That's definitely something that's gonna have to get coached into him. And I think he's still at that age, and he's proved it that he can play at this level. So I do think that he can learn how to make basic through balls because that's something that he was struggling to do all throughout.
Learn how to make basic through balls.
You know what I'm going to say though to this as well though. I've seen this from Baller FC though. They're saying 9 open play assists. Why do we want him? These are the same guys that say that Bruno doesn't excel with the ball at his feet at anything and dismiss his stats. So are we saying stats are important or not important? What are we saying, boys and girls?
Yeah, they are, but the eye test, you got to mix it with the eye test as well.
No, I understand the eye test is there, but people will throw Mount stats at him. But you throw Bruno stats into a conversation, they say, why do stats matter? Again, I can't do the hypocrisy. It does my brain in. Like they either matter or they don't matter. This year there's Mount and Havertz. Who is worse? Much of a muchness. Chelsea fans can't hate Bowley no more. Fleeced both United and Arsenal is what Felix says here. What's your thoughts on Torres to Villa? Interesting that he's ended up at Villa and none of the big clubs actually ended up putting those official bids in.
It makes sense. Unai Emery.
Yeah, Unai Emery liked him as well.
No, but it doesn't make sense. Tottenham actually wanted him a while ago, and he actually turned us down because we weren't in the Champions League. So that's why when I saw that, I was so confused.
Yeah, he's manager at Villarreal.
Yeah, he knows.
Maybe the club is not as big as Aston Villa. Maybe just.
There we go. We're going to come back in a moment to a few more of these super chats, but this one here says Erik ten Hag trying to put together an Eredivisie All-Star 11. That's kind of why I'm glad Arsenal are getting Timber to a degree, because all that would happen is my club would be accused of my manager of having no talent ID, because he signs players he's managed in the past. But there we go. Who's the better signing, Mount or Havertz?
Dumb and dumber.
Definitely Mount. Definitely Mount.
I think Mount. Yeah, I think Mount.
Here's what people. I think. Let's just establish one thing, Staffy. Mount is not a shit player. Did you overpay for him a little bit? Yes. Are you the winner of this transfer? Yes, because Chelsea wanted the 80 million, and at the end they budged to what you wanted. So I think you overpaid by 10 million, which is not a lot in this day and age. It's not a lot. You're looking at Mason Mount as number 8, and I'm looking at Mason Mount from a different perspective at all. I just watching Man United chasing forwards, and they're not actually signed a forward yet. And how many times Bruno had to play on the right side, or Rashford has to go to a forward, and Garnacho played on the left side.
That was because
Mason
of
Mount.
Though. That's not because of tactics.
Injuries are part of football. Injuries are part of football. Can you get a better signing for that much money to play different positions like this? I don't think in this current market. I don't think so. Is Mason Mount this amazing player? Maybe not. Did he have an amazing season? Yes, he did. Can Erik ten Hag revive him? He did revive Luke Shaw. He did revive Wan-Bissaka. I think you overpaid for him, but I think you're overreacting. You're saying he's a shit player. He isn't a shit player, right? He isn't I'm so with all due respect, he's a championship player. He played in a top 6 club, won the Champions League. Maybe could have gone in for 50, but Chelsea didn't budge that much. But at the end, you got what your club said. I value him at 55 plus 5 or 50. You paid what you wanted. Would you rather pay 105 million for Rice or get Onana and Mount together for the same price and save the rest for another midfielder? You got to put in your mind that this is in the current market. Arsenal paid 170 million pounds for Rice plus Kai Havertz, while you can have De Jong, Mount, and Onana for the same money. Who would you rather be?
If you give me De Jong, I won't panic. I'll be okay. I'll look back at this and be like, you know what, Terry, you were right. I panicked a little bit too early. But I don't trust this club to go get me De Jong. I'll tell you why. Look what happened last summer. We chased him for 3 months just to get our pants pulled down.
I'm just saying.
I've seen this.
You're taking the words.
I'm speaking out of trauma.
The words literally, bro. You're taking. When we say De Jong, we mean similar profile to De Jong. There are other players around the world that has the same. Like maybe you can get a.
No, but I already said that, Mo. I already said that.
But
and
what
I
mean
said,
is that
you
you're
get
really
me
saying you are trying to put this picture that Mason Mount is shit. He isn't shit. He isn't the worst player in the world. He's not even one, like, he is a second-tier player, probably. Not an elite, not a kid to be. Like, he had a season at Chelsea when he had double digits in goals and assists. Can he repeat that?
One season,
Maybe.
Bro. Stop talking to me about that. It was one season, bro.
The
People
guy had
telling me the same thing. He had an assist in the Champions League final. So did West Brown. No one signed him for 60 million this season after.
I never said that.
No, I'm just saying, bro. People talking to me about that. I did not say Mo said that. I did not say Mo said that. I'm talking about what people are trying to justify the signing.
But you're responding to me now. I'm speaking. You're responding to me.
So well, unfortunately, this is not Mo versus Staffy. This is the top 6, and it involves everyone who's talking about this signing.
But I was speaking, and anyway, don't get. I'm not gonna get into this. My point is, at this moment, would you rather pay 105 for Rice, or you pay 60 for Mount, or you get Havertz for 65? This is the market. This is the market now at this moment. Lavia is worth 50. Ward-Prowse is worth 50, bro.
Where's Caicedo in all this? That's the guy I wanted. He's the one guy you didn't mention.
Bro, they are signing Timber for 40 million.
Ward-Prowse is not worth 50, bro. That they're
This
crazy.
is the valuation.
It's like
Exactly.
Caicedo, no
What
one
I'm
said-
seeing is the valuation is that my point. Okay, my point is Mason Mount isn't shit. You overpaid a little bit. It's not that you overpaid double the price. You were never gonna get a player like Mason Mount for 25. That's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in this world. Just
Staffy,
calm,
save it to the end of the window.
calm, be
Save it to the end of
composed.
the window.
Let's wait and let's wait and see what happens. I want to move on slightly from Mason Mount and Manchester United. We'll come back to it. We've still got some more super chats to do later in the show. We haven't missed any of them, but some big breaking news that has come out in the last 20 minutes or so is that Chelsea are pushing. Fabrizio's tweeted out, but Ben Jacob actually shared this about 2 hours ago and has corroborated it really. That Chelsea are pushing for Moises Caicedo. Man United, as of now, have not entered the race with any kind of official bid. The belief remains that 70 million plus 10 stands as a realistic chance of getting the deal done, despite the £100 million price tag. But Chelsea are going to start pushing hard for this deal now. Now that they've kind of got rid of so much players that are surplus to requirements to them. How confident are you, Don, that you'll land Caicedo, and how transformative do you think you'll be for Chelsea going into next season?
Yeah, no, I'm quite confident that we're going to land him, Terry. We bidded for him in January before we actually decided to just move on to Caicedo, not Caicedo, Enzo, and focus on him. So we actually bidded for him before Arsenal did in January. And yeah, as of May, Fabrizio has been mentioning his name linked to Chelsea. Like, we're going to attack the situation. He's our main target. You know, a lot of the Chelsea accounts have been talking about Caicedo as being at the top of our list in midfield. And when it comes to just transforming our midfield, I can think of so many games last season. You know, when we lost to Spurs, we had Oliver Skip just bossing that midfield. When we lost to Southampton at home, Lavia just bossing that midfield because we had no CDM. At the Emirates, Odegaard's both of his goals, again, no one there in that midfield, to hold that position. So he's definitely going to transform our midfield because it's going to allow Enzo to push up a little bit further up, hopefully be a little bit more creative, get more assists, get more goals. And again, just be a bit of a destroyer, give us a little bit of comfort as well in front of our back four. Because I feel like you haven't seen the best of players like Fofana because we've had no protection in front of him. Do you know what I mean? If you put, for example, let's just say Gabriel in our defense with no CDM in front of him, he's going to look a lot worse than what he is as a player because he is a good player, but you need that protection in front of him. So this is where we're going now. I think Caicedo is definitely going to, take us up a level because we've been missing that position, missing a player in that position for so long. The last destroyer that we had was Matic. And then after that, we brought in Jorginho, who is a defensive midfielder, good at tackling, but he isn't the greatest destroyer. Physically, he's not it. We just haven't had that guy in midfield, that dog in midfield. So Caicedo brings a bit of that. And I'm quite happy as well because he obviously speaks Spanish. Enzo doesn't speak English fluently. So that's really important for them to communicate. That's one thing that people forget about football. You need to communicate, right? So I think it'll be good for us because they're actually both Spanish speakers as well. So yeah, this guy will definitely elevate us to the next level and bring something into our midfield that we've been missing for so long. Yeah, we need to get this one done. I think we'll get it done. I'm quite confident, to be fair.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal piece of business. Alex Goldberg has tweeted an Ecuadorian flag, is what LJ Brown has said here. And look, it is progressing, and it's progressing very, very quickly indeed. Dan Waters here with a very big super chat says, rivals helping us trim our squad when they said we would struggle to sell. Again, that's why I do say this to people. I've been trying to give advice to the NVC for a while now. Learn when to banter and when not to. Because that's why I didn't get involved in it, because there's always a chance we might buy some of the talent in that pool. It looks really silly now. 125 million for Havertz and Mount, 10-ish outgoings, and Kunku in for 50 million, Jackson 30, first feeder club bought, Caicedo incoming, not done yet. Chelsea are cooking. And I want to kind of go to Egal with that because they're about to sign one of the best midfield players in the young midfield players in the Premier League in Europe. They've got rid of nearly all the deadwood that people doubted. They've got all the bankers and the businessmen out of the boardroom and letting the football people make the decision. Chelsea really look like they're moving back in the right direction to many people. What's your view, firstly, on the Caicedo signing and the general state of Chelsea right now?
Caicedo signing, honestly, I'm surprised that nobody else is really pushing for Caicedo to the level that Chelsea are. Like Arsenal, of course, we put all our focus on Declan Rice and Kai Havertz, and we kind of seem to have gone away from the Caicedo thing. And Manchester United, you guys push heavy for for Mason Mount. Nobody else is really going in for Caicedo at this moment in time, and I feel like Chelsea are the most likely destination. So that's why they're getting a free hit at him. And you know what? Brighton they're going to have to probably pay Brighton 70 to 80 million to get him over the line. If they pay more than 90, I'll be surprised. But yeah, Caicedo's a quality player and they're getting a quality midfielder. I'm not going to downplay him. He's a quality player, and anyone who gets him, they're getting a quality player. But Chelsea in a whole, let's be honest, they've done well in some parts and they still have a lot of work in other parts. We can praise them for their sales, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that some of the players that they're selling, they bought last week for like 400 million. So let's be realistic here. They're doing well getting rid of some of these guys off their wage bill. That's what it is. Not really the incoming cash that they're getting, because the main thing is to try to get them off the wage bill and bring in players that can with better wages, because that's the main thing that they've been trying to do. Not only just sell the players, because 200 million, if you look at it, if you take those transfer kitties for some of those players, just recently they probably spent 200 million on some of those guys. So I'm not going to give you too much praise on the sales, but getting rid of the players, trimming your fat, and actually getting income in is great. Now, this is where the real issue lies. Your squad is still thin. And I know you're saying you're not in Europe. That's the first thing you're going to say. But the level of quality you have in your team has diminished so much. And I still need to see you guys go and bring in a midfielder, maybe another midfielder, a goalkeeper, a striker. And I just don't know. And I don't know enough about these young players that you've brought in and if they can cut the mustard at the Premier League level yet. Like Jackson, who is he? I've never seen him play. I don't know him, so I can't talk about him. But really and truly, if I see him versus Van Dijk, I'm expecting Liverpool to bash him up. I don't think he's going to be starting up front for you guys. Your goalkeeper right now, Kepa. Nobody rates Kepa. Let's be honest. He did decent for FPL teams, but that's it. He's not a real good goalkeeper, right? And then when it comes to your midfield on paper looks great, but you got rid of Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, all of these guys over the last year. You have no experience in your midfield. What are you going to do to manage games? You actually have gone backwards as a club to try to go forwards in the future. I get it. I get it in the long term, but right now in the short term, it's going to be a lot of growing pains. And also, you have a new manager. We don't even know how you're going to play. So there's just so much work to be done. I can't really rate Chelsea yet. I still need to see more from them.
I get what you're saying, Egal, but for you to say that we've gone backwards, I'm guessing you're referring to the quality that we've brought in is the biggest. I haven't heard BS like that in a long time, man. Like you can't tell me bringing in Enzo and bringing in Caicedo and bringing in Cuckoo into our midfield is going backwards. When
you named three players.
Yeah, these are the players that are going to be starting our midfield. Let's say we bring Caicedo in and Enzo's already there. It's a double pivot of those two. You've got Nkuku, who again can create and is a good finisher, very good on the ball, right? I don't understand how we can downgrade that midfield, because we've had Cover, who again, end product hasn't been great, inconsistent, injury prone as well. Right time for him to move on. Jorginho, not the right CDM profile for us. Mason Mount hasn't been performing for a while for us as well. So I don't see how you can say we've gone backwards in that.
This
in the
is how you've gone backwards.
We've actually improved our quality in midfield.
Guess what? You can improve your quality by bringing in crown jewels, but if the supporting cast have dropped off, you've gone worse.
Yeah,
so
but
your supporting cast, your overall squad was so good that at times people were saying, look at our bench, look at our team, look at who we can bring off the squad. You guys, even though you might not rate some of these players, over time they've let you down. But let's just take ourselves back to after you won the Champions League. People were looking at 2-11s that were quality to start in majority of teams. I'm not going to lie to you. Some of the young players you picked up, they can be good maybe in the future. But at this moment in time, who's to say they even are players that even get into another top 6 team?
So you're telling me Enzo doesn't start for any other?
I'm not talking about Enzo. Stop going back to the crown jewels. There are crown jewels in your team, like Enzo, like Nkunku, like some of these guys that you have, Fofana. That you have a spine of players that some people rate. But let's be honest, you still have a lot of young players in your attacking third that don't have the experience in the Premier League. You also have some players that you don't know if you can rely on going forward that you just signed.
Right. Yeah, no, I get your point. You are right when you say we've got a young team, but that's the reason why we've actually brought Pochettino in, because he's actually got a proven record of developing young players. You know, that young team he had at Southampton, he got that job at Spurs, he developed Dele Alli, Harry Kane's world class because of him. You know, Eriksen was quite young. You had Alderweireld, who was quite young at the time. That's actually why we brought him in, because the model now is to bring in young players and to develop them. And
So
you know,
how
we're
many
gonna
more
have
signings do you think you're going to bring in? Because I think in order for Chelsea to be competitive next season, you need to bring in a goalkeeper, a striker, an additional midfielder to Caicedo, in addition to Caicedo. So that's 4 players that will potentially walk into your starting 11.
Yeah, okay. I mean, in terms of bringing in replacements, Vega is someone that's been mentioned quite a lot of times. If we actually get rid of Mason, obviously that's happening now. So I think we're going to attack that situation once we sort out Caicedo. Vega is one that we're looking at. He looks quite creative. To be honest, I haven't watched a single 90 of him, but from what I've heard of him,
Where does he play?
He's like a cam. He's like a 10, I believe. Vega. He's quite
Sociedad,
Sociedad. So
If I'm
apparently
not-
he's a good player.
Celta Vigo.
Celta Vigo.
yeah.
Celta Vigo. Apparently he's a good player that we're looking
Oh,
at.
Gabby Vega.
Yeah, Gabby Vega. So he's one. Man City have been looking at him the other day as well. That was an exclusive. You've got Lavia, who's still on our list. Apparently, we might be bringing him in as well as Caicedo. You've got Santos, who's here already. Poch is looking at him in pre-season. You've got Caicedo, who was player of the season in Under-20 World Cup, who might be looked at as well. There's options there in the background. And again, we're going to attack a lot of positions now, especially as of next week when we sort out Mason. When that gets wrapped up, you're gonna start to see a lot more rumors about incomings rather than outgoings, because we have to sort that out first. So I'm not panicking about it because I know what the plan is. I know that we want a striker. Goalkeeper, I'm a bit concerned because it sounds like we're looking to keep Kepa as a number 1, which I don't agree with. I just think he's a horrible goalkeeper.
No, but you're agreeing with me because you're naming all the work that I just said you need to get done. So you agree with me. You have
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is
the window's not over. But
yeah.
Right now, just looking at on paper, what the squad that you have right now, the players you've gotten rid of, going into next season, if you make 4 quality signings, yes, you can replace some of the players you got rid of, but by numbers wise, I feel like you've gotten rid of a lot of the experience and a lot of the quality in your team over the last couple of years. And getting rid of too many players too quickly can be as detrimental as bringing in too many players too quickly.
Yeah, but we can't complain about getting rid of these players that we wanted to get rid of. Do you know what I mean?
No, but you also couldn't complain about signing. You spent 600 million and you've seen the ramifications. You had a bloated squad. Now you got rid of all these players. Although it's good for the long term, in the short term, you're taking a big talent dip.
Egal, I get what you're saying. Let me jump in on this because I get what you're saying over here, but we can't criticize them for something that we said last season that they should have done, because we said their squad was too big. And now when they're thinning out their squad, we're saying the squad is too thin. We can't play both sides the same way. Now, like, we just have to be honest. Like, okay, I get what you're saying. They got rid of a lot of experience, but sometimes that's what you need, because, like, I'm sorry, Gal, that's the same thing your manager did. Your manager came in, he made the squad so thin, he got rid of the most experienced players that you had, starting with Ozil and then Aubameyang and then Lacazette, and these guys were your most experienced. But then look at your team; it paid off. I'm not saying in a year they're going to be competing for the league. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But they're following something similar. I got your point, though, that they did it too quick, where they added a lot of players too quick, and now they're selling a lot of players too quick. They didn't really let it go at a slow pace where it's more natural. Couple players going, couple players coming in, doing it over 2-3 years. Yes, that ideally would be better.
It just seems very extreme. Let's be honest.
I get it, but that's the position they're already in because they already signed all these players. So instead of them having to play Ziyech and Pulisic and all these players again, because last season, I remember a lot of Chelsea fans were upset that towards the end of the season, a lot of the new signings still weren't playing. And they knew people like Ziyech was going. He was supposed to go to PSG, but yeah, he was starting games. So they're like, what's the point if he's going to leave in the summer? Now, you trimming down the squad, yeah, you might start the season a little bit slow because most of these players are outside of the Premier League. So most of them are getting their debuts, or most of them played about 6 months only in the Premier League. So they don't have that experience. But no European football gives them a big advantage because that's more time on the training pitch. And I always talk about this. People think playing more games is more important. Sometimes you need a break to be more on the training pitch with your manager, because you need to train on, okay, I'm a new manager, you guys are new players, this is what we're going to do. We need to practice time and time again before we go to games. And I feel like that's going to work in their favor because that's a lot of micromanaging to these young players. Mudryk now is going to get micromanaged a lot. Madueke, Enzo, Caicedo if he comes in Nkunku when he comes in. I mean, he's already in. But you get what I'm saying. A lot of these young players are going to get more attention, more time. And yeah, they're sacrificing the short term for the long term, but that long term doesn't necessarily mean next year in 2
So
years.
your end conclusion is, Egal, you're overreacting, but I agree with you.
You're not totally wrong, but I do think you're being a little bit too harsh.
Okay,
Because
I'm
you're
not
kind of
being harsh in the sense that I'm not being harsh in the sense because I am trying to bring some balance to something that I'm seeing where everyone I feel like is saying Chelsea are doing great business. Yes, selling they're doing great business, but overall they could land themselves in another issue. And sometimes what you think is you're doing a great job can sometimes lead you to another issue. And I'm just pointing out that this could be an issue in the foreseeable future.
Oh, he hasn't spoke much on the show today. Sorry, guy. I want to interject for a minute. He hasn't spoke much on the show today. Young Daniel, what are you making of? Look, I understand the logic you're using. My brother said this to me earlier on today. He doesn't do socials or anything. He's like, I don't get why people are praising Chelsea for like getting rid of all these players. I said, oh, why? He said because he said. If you go around picking up litter in society, you looked at as a pretty good person, right?
Yeah.
You go around collecting litter, yeah, but not if you're doing it for community service.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying that Chelsea are being praised for like fixing a mistake, and my brothers have been a bit salty. I was like, all right, cool. But Dan, what do you think of what Chelsea are doing? Because I personally think the amount of players they got out is good. They're looking at buying real quality into their team, and I think once June's gone and FFP's taken care of, I think they're going to go even bigger in the market. What do you make of it, young man?
Look, I understand what they're doing. These players, they've been terrible this season. Chelsea, it's not secret that they were crap this season. Most of the players were the reason for that. I understand what Egal is saying, and I understand what you're saying. I understand what also Staffy is saying, where it's good to get this young squad, a bit like what Arsenal did. But we saw that cost Arsenal at the end of the season, where they were needing that experience in those games. That ended up costing them, and that's why the main reason why they didn't end up winning the Premier League. So I think you probably want to keep some of the experience there, and make a young squad, but keep some experienced players around because
but that's why we're keeping Silva. Silva's someone that we're keeping.
That's exactly where I was going. That's exactly where I'm going. It's not fully a young squad. There is still some experienced players there, and I think I agree with what Chelsea's doing. Chelsea, I think it's just a little bit off to us because we're so not used to seeing this happen so quickly. But this is what we want from our football clubs most of the time, a rebuild. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, maybe you think that they're doing too quickly, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that you want it to be done quickly. Why wait all these years? Just, in my opinion, I completely agree with what Chelsea's doing. But I hear your argument that it may be a little bit too fast, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
And Dan, when you say about the experience as well, like we've got Chilwell, very experienced. You've got Reece James, very experienced. You've got Thiago Silva, very experienced. You've got Raheem Sterling, very experienced. So it's not like we're just bringing in all these 19, 20-year-olds. It's not that. There's still a blend of experience in the team. But we're going to have to
name three teams in world football who go with an attacking front like you would have next season. Obviously, we're going based off what you have right now. You still need to go and sign a striker. If you go and sign a striker, you go and sign a goalkeeper, and then you bring in two midfielders. I would
say Arsenal. You don't have a prolific number 9, but you have really good inside forwards. You have a really good person that plays in that hole in Odegaard. Now, I'm not suggesting their inside forwards are as good as Martinelli and Saka, but Arsenal's setup is, from a profile point of view, the same as of right now. You don't have a recognized out-and-out number 9 who's a goal scorer. You have very talented, speedy, skillful inside forwards, and you have someone that plays in the hole. So Arsenal do it. I'm not saying they're going to make it work, but in terms of the personnel, it's very similar in terms of the profile of individuals. It's in the type of players they are. I do think Chelsea got to improve in that area though, in terms of quality though.
I'm seeing people talking about. I'm seeing people talking about. Sorry, just a quick one. I'm seeing people talking about Nkuku's position, right? Nkuku is a second striker, but he can also play as a cam. That's what we're going to bring him in for. Poch plays a 4-2-3-1. The plan is to bring in a striker. Therefore, Nkuku is going to play as a cam. He's not going to play on the left, which is going to stop Mudrik's development, and he's not going to play on the left ahead of Sterling. So he's going to play as a cam. He's a second striker, but he can play.
How many signings do you need?
But here's the other. But let's not forget that Chelsea also want Osimhen as well.
Yeah, that's a big rumor. we're still looking at our main striker. We're still looking to bring in another striker. Like Jackson's not going to be our
window's
number
only
one striker.
started.
That's not the plan. Yeah, the window's literally just
If
started.
Jackson's your striker next season, you're lucky if you get top 6.
I feel like a lot of people are looking at Chelsea because of the strangeness that was last year. The whole takeover, the whole how the manager situation changed with Poch, not Poch, from Potter to Lampard, and how it just turned into a bit of a car crash. So and with the amount of signings that they bought and the amount of money they've spent, and now they're trying to shift a lot of players quite quickly. It's not the done route, but it's almost a bit of, we don't know whether Chelsea's gonna do really well next season or progress from 12th, like from last season, onto this season with Poch is a bit of an unknown. So we kind of have to give them a bit of a chance to see where they're going. They're bringing these players in, but none of us know how Poch is going to play with Chelsea. We know the kind of style that he likes. We know the kind of player profiles he likes, but the way he played a couple of years ago at PSG or how he played at Tottenham is not necessarily going to be the same way that he's going to play at Chelsea each year. Top coaches anyway are going to tweak their systems to the league that they're playing in, the opposition that they have, and etc. So I think we should just wait and see a little bit. Hold fire on Chelsea.
You're criticizing our attack, but you're the same guy that was twerking for Mudryk. Do you know what I mean? We've got Mudryk here. You wanted him, and we've got him, and you're still criticizing that he's going to. Who's
Mudryk?
What's the problem?
I don't know who that is. Who's that? I don't know
what team in Europe is going to start?
Can I ask you a question? Is there a worry with Chelsea doing this young player thing that if they get more success quicker than Arsenal's young team, that it could overshadow it? Is that what the projection is here, Egal?
Terry, in the most respectful way possible, they don't know what they're doing. So I'm not.
Do you know what it is, Egal? The Chelsea takes I get from you come from a very hopeful angle that it's not going to work.
Bro, I've given you my logic. I've played it out for you, but you guys still are saying the same thing I'm saying, just rewording it in a nicer way. If you don't like what I'm saying, it's the harsh reality. Chelsea Football Club.
I don't agree with everything that you're saying.
Chelsea Football Club, we don't know the direction they're headed in yet until we see everything laid out. There's a lot that needs to get done, and I'm willing to sit back and say, you know what? If you guys smash this window, I'll change my opinion. But at this moment,
so hold on. You're stating the obvious. Hold on, Dan. I got you here.
One second. But why is the obvious so harsh?
It's not even that, but I feel like you allow yourself only to follow your club blindly for years, because we've been watching you for years, bro, and we've watched you through the whole process. Hold up, no, I'm sitting here complaining about Mason Mount. Everyone's telling me to relax, so clearly I don't follow anyone blindly. But the issue is, Egal, you want to follow your club blindly, and you want to sit here, and when someone else gives a little bit of reasoning why he wants to support what his club's doing, you're trying to rule it out from the beginning like it's not going to work out.
Bro, I get your reasoning. I'm actually leaving room for them to do well.
No, Egal, you keep shitting on it, and you keep saying it's not going to work in the long term and the short term, and they did it wrong. No one thought Arsenal did it the right way when they got rid of all their experience, and you finished 8th 2 years in a row. And then guess what happened? You eventually got in a title race.
No one still believes Arsenal can do anything because we have to get up the line. And Chelsea, at this moment in time, as their currency comes rise, they still have a lot to prove to everyone, even their own fans. You yourself have a lot of question marks over your own team. But right now, you're in a situation where you're defensive and you're defending your club. But I get it. I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say this. How many players do you think your team needs? How much work do you think needs to be done at your club? And do you think this is something that can be next year where you're actually going in and you're competitive? I don't think so. Yeah, and when I say competitive, I mean at least trying to get top 4.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I don't understand how you can say you don't know what we're doing when you can see that we're clearly trimming our squad. We're trying to plug a lot of holes that, like I said, we've had for quite a long time with Caicedo. We've already got Enzo as of January. We're trying to plug the hole of the striker that we had. If you actually watch Chelsea last season, I know we finished 12th, and I know there was quite a lot of games where we didn't play well. But overall, during the season, we were creating a lot of chances. We weren't burying them. We weren't playing as bad as what people thought. We weren't getting the results because we literally had no striker and we had no CDM. We were terrible. We had those holes to fill. So we're trying to fill those holes, and you're still criticizing it and saying that you don't know what we're doing.
Egal, listen, we should just let Chelsea go back to their roots. Let them go back to that pre-2003, prior to that takeover. If this is the route they want to take, Egal, let them take it.
Listen,
let's let them take it.
I'm gonna jump in because I've got some super chats to do here, and then there's some breaking news that we've got to go to as well. I haven't missed any super chats, but I'm gonna keep it on Chelsea as best I can. This here says could be a massive issue if Chelsea doesn't sign for quality players in the next 2 months, right, Egal?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Managing a young Spurs team in 2015 is way different to managing a young Chelsea team in 2023. You have Pep, Klopp, Arsenal, United are better, and also Newcastle is what Zane believes here. Terry was my tweet about Greenwood or Timber. It was about Timber. That's who that was about. Chelsea will get there quicker because they have a board willing to spend, but Arsenal never had that before. Well, they've started spending now, of course, but I get you mean prior to this. People forgetting he has 2 Player of the Years in his first 3 years. I was talking about Mason Mount again there. I remember that. I remember that he does this. I hope. Listen, if he's our Player of the Year next year, I'll be buzzing. This here says Jackson has all the attributes to be a top striker in the Premier League. Potentially is a very shrewd signing.
Just on this as well. There's literally nothing to lose. We spent 35 million euros on a guy that looks quite promising. Had the best XG last season to finish off the season in La Liga. So it's a worthy gamble. It's a worthy gamble. So I don't understand how you can be criticizing that one as well. There's nothing you can lose by spending 35 million euros for a promising.
You know what there is? When you fill your squad with 4 of them, then there's something to lose. You can lose games.
Yeah.
You have too many gambles.
Yeah. There's one here that's for Egal. Egal Bowley is still clueless. 125 million for Mason Mount plus a donkey.
Player sales, good job. I give him credit for that.
This here says Partey and Xhaka leaving. So Egal, have Arsenal taken a step backwards?
If Partey and Xhaka both leave, and we don't go and sign another midfielder in addition to Kai Havertz and Declan Rice, then yes, we've taken a step backwards.
Fair enough. At least he's being consistent. Chelsea will get there. Oh, sorry, already done that super chat. Thank you. This is speaking about signings. The best signing is in history was TFT bringing in an Arsenal fan in Egal who can tell the whole world that Arteta is better than the treble-winning manager Pep. Masterstroke from Terry. He didn't say better than Pep. He said he should have won Manager of the Year. Do you still believe that he should have won Manager of the Year, Arteta?
Obviously, the way the season ended changes things. Anyways, it is what it is.
In our debate, I said if Pep wins the treble, did you deserve it? And you went no.
At the time, I didn't foresee that it would end the way that it ended. I thought, regardless, we were gonna either win the league or be close down to the wire. And if it was close down to the wire, similar to how Klopp won it last year, I thought maybe we'd get it.
I hear you on that. This year says, you know, it's bad when Staffy doesn't have his hat on. I like that. 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 with Mount Terry. You all know my opinion on this. I think they're almost exactly the same formation. Depends whether you're in possession or out of possession. So I don't really focus on it. So either doesn't really matter. I want us to have more of the ball, which I don't know if we will have. Ibby here says appreciates the work all fan channels do. Full-time career carer, sorry, for my mum. Sorry, I mispronounced that, for 3+ years. Very sorry to hear that, my friend. The videos everyone provides me gives me genuine entertainment and solace, especially on tougher days like today. Cheers. Well, bro, look, I don't know the circumstances, but, you know, do everything you can to try and keep a positive mindset. Keep doing what you're doing for your mum, because that's an incredible thing that you're doing. I hope that your mum can make a speedy recovery and gets better if that's plausible. If not, is as comfortable as possible. But yeah, look, we'll always keep making this content if it makes you happy, my friend. And thank you for all the super chats and support you give the Terrace as well. It means a great deal to us, Ibby. Top man. We'll come back to more of the super chats later, but there has been some breaking news since we've been live that the Timber deal is practically done. The deal has been verbally agreed. We'll come back to that one because that mentions Tchouameni in a minute, but the deal has been verbally agreed now between the two clubs. It will complete. It is a formality now. Urian Timber will become an Arsenal player. That is 3 done deals, about £210 million spent in June by Arsenal. That takes Arteta spending, I think, north of £700 million since he's been the manager. This Arsenal team are going for it. They've responded to missing out on the title. I want to talk Timber first, but we are going to speak about the other 2 signings and what they bring to Arsenal. But Egal, speak to me about essentially your 3rd completed signing of the summer.
How long has the window been open, Colleen? What's going on? This is crazy.
Miguel, how
Listen,
are you feeling, baby? How are you feeling? Because
I
I'm feeling
am
great.
gassed.
I'm
I'll tell
feeling
you that.
great.
I am
I don't know
gassed.
about anyone else.
I am
Whew.
gassed. I'm happy right now. I'll tell you this. And the main reason why I'm happy is because we've spoken about defensive cover. And Timber covers two positions for us. Not only can he play as a right back, but he can also play as a center back, and he can tuck in and do the midfield work similar to Zinchenko from the left back position, but on the right side now. And it gives us that flexibility to now not only have to play one way when we want to maybe change it up and be a little bit more attacking on the other side. We can now have Timber as the right back, and maybe Zinchenko can sit back. And that tactical flexibility was what we were missing last year. Because going up against certain matchups, we knew Zinchenko playing on that side was going to leave us a little bit exposed. And then now we can do the opposite. So Timber, great signing. And if I'm not mistaken, the fixed fee, Colleen, is around 36 million pounds. Edu walked into Ajax, came out of there and said, "We're taking everything. Don't worry, we got this." And
He's lit up the barbecue. He's lit it up.
I think honestly, some people owe Edu specifically a little bit more credit, because what he's been able to do this window shows that there is a little bit of nouns there. Now, player sales, people are always going to criticize him, but let's be honest, the value of our players was never that high. If we can maybe get more value from these player sales in the future, that'd be great. Do a Boli, try to get better sales. Big up to Boli for that. I did rate him for that. But when it comes to us, we need to do better there. But overall, great signing, great start to the window. Three players coming in, and Timber defensively will offer us a lot more than what we had last year for cover. And imagine we're getting rid of Cedric and putting in Timber, basically. That's how it feels to me. That's a massive upgrade to our squad. I'm loving life right now.
How about yourself in terms of this individual deal, Cole?
I think we saw at the end of the last season that the writing was on the wall. I didn't really know it was going to be Timber, though, that once the league was lost, you started to see the tactical tweak that Arteta wanted to start doing, where we were able to have options of having an inverted right back, if you like, and start having that flexibility on both fullbacks. But we need someone who can cover centre back. I think it's fair to say that I think Rob Holding's time at the club is coming to an end. Tomiyasu who can play also at centre back as well. He's not been as available. So there's top three things you want from any player. Outside of hard work and talent, the third biggest thing is availability. He's just not had it. And we're now going into a season where we're going to be in the Champions League. And last season, we weren't really in any of the competitions seriously. We didn't really take them that well, go that far in them, because we simply didn't have the depth to go on a title challenge as well as sustain cup runs. And at a club like Arsenal, we should be going for cup runs and pushing for league and trying to go far in Europe. So these are the kind of signings that I'm so down to see. And it feels like forever since I've seen Arsenal get pretty much cover a lot, 80%, 90% of what they want before pre-season, have them ready for pre-season, and then sit back, relax, see some outgoings come, and hope for some surprises. So I'm a happy girl. I'm a happy girly. Unlike everyone else here, I'm happy.
Can't wait. You mean business, eh? That's basically what you're saying.
Listen.
Colleen, are you taking digs at me for being miserable? Because if you are, you're absolutely spot on.
I'm just saying, you need to lift the mood a little bit.
Rivals, like Dan, what do you make of this signing of Timber?
It's a class signing, yeah. I mean, it literally, he not only does he play right back, but he also plays center back. We know that. So he's versatile.
He played DM as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the big problems Arsenal had, was that depth. So he covers all the areas, and he's very good as well. It's not like he's just a player that's going to be there for squad depth. He slots in straight into the starting 11. When Gabriel Saliba is injured, we saw that this season it was an issue. He plays center back, so he can slot in there. As you guys said, he's inverted. He can invert, so you have that now on both sides. It's a quality signing. He's a quality player, and as much as I'm jealous, big up Arsenal, because that is a good signing, and you guys have started the window off very, very well, with a lot of your target signings already signed. We saw last season that was not really the case, so you guys are getting business done early.
It was the case. They literally went on pre-season with their new signings. That's why we got smoked 4-0 in pre-season. Was it 4-0? Yeah, 4-0.
No, that's not fair.
That was more of a chill. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
They missed out on a lot of big targets. We
Yeah, they
know
did,
the
but if
names. We know the names.
No, so I don't think. See, I don't think. I actually think Arsenal. If you look at the last 3 summers and look at the, of course, it was harder 3 years ago compared to now. 2 years ago
Yeah.
compared to now, because that means 3 summers included. Because 3 years ago they were finishing 8th. They weren't in the Champions League. They hadn't progressed much under Arteta, so they didn't know who they were targeting, who they could bring in. But the majority of the signings have worked, and this is why even with the Kai Havertz deal, when it comes to their manager, there has to be an element of rivals can say what they want. Got to have patience. No signing over the value of 20 million euros made by Arteta yet has flopped. Barring, you could argue Fabio Vieira, but we all give our players at least 2 seasons, don't we? But the rest of them have all been a resounding success. The higher profile and higher value ones have all done brilliantly. Everyone thought Zinchenko and Jesus and Odegaard would be terrible signings. So I'm just at a point now, and I know how good Timber is. Studied him a lot last year when we were linked with him. This has just been a phenomenal window so far for Arsenal. On paper, you've of course got to translate that into wins. And I get why rivals are can be a little bit salty with it. What I would say now, though, for Arsenal is, like I said at the end of the season, there is no more the phase 4 thing. Nonsense. This is it. You're an established team. The build is over. You've spent over 200 million, and you're probably going to spend even more. You're probably going to buy another player or two. And don't be surprised this window if you see more Timbers. And when I say more Timbers,
Bench
I
players.
don't mean, I don't mean bench players, because I don't agree with you. I don't think Timber's coming to be a backup player. Timber's coming to start in your first team. That is what he's coming in to do. And he may not start off as a first team player, but again, at the beginning of last season, if you'd have said to Arsenal fans, Ben White will be your main right back next season, they would have told you you're wrong. If you'd have told City fans that Ake would be the best left back in the league last season, you would have been told you were wrong. So I think that Timber's coming in to do it. But when I say more Timbers, I mean, I reckon there'll be 1 or 2 more signings that you're not expecting. Very good quality players, maybe in another midfield area, maybe in an attacking area like an inside forward. I think there's more business to come from Arsenal. But what they've done that's brilliant, they've got 3 main targets in. They have pre-season with them. They can assess what players have maybe got a little bit better during the summer, who look like they're going to another level next year. They can sell and then use August to bring in that extra little bit, that cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. And Free Citizen here says, Terry always gassing up Arsenal. I'll gas up.
I think you miss.
Let me finish, bro. I will gas up any team that does well, and their business is brilliant. But like I'm just about to allude to, if you let me finish my point, at the end of the day, what you then need is trophies. This is all Arsenal are going to be judged on now is trophies. Or rebuild. There's no more excuses, no more young squad, no more lack of money, no more net spend BS. It's you win the major trophies or you've failed. That is it now. And Arsenal have got to they're not got to the promised land, but they're in the home straight. The lights at the end of the tunnel. They must now deliver. And as a rival, that should be where ultimately that should be where you want your rivals, because there's no more excuses. With Chelsea, if they foul, but we're year 1 and we're doing this. Man United, our owners and everything else. I don't want Man United to be there. I want it to be clear cut. You either deliver or you don't. So Arsenal are in a fantastic position, brilliant season, purchased well. And as a football fan and as the owner of the Terrace, I'm very excited about next season and what it's going to look like and the direction clubs are going in. So look, it's going to be a phenomenal season.
I'm not. Egal is about to be more unbearable. Can you imagine next season?
The job's not finished. Is the job finished? It's not finished.
You know what it is?
Okay,
Kobe.
Can we just say it straight? Like Arsenal, we all said that Arsenal, they might not get people over the line, they might not do the business, and it's June and they got 3 signings already. And I think at the moment they are the better team positions to challenge City next year. I didn't believe that Arsenal. I didn't believe that Arsenal will get all these deals done by June. They did them. They finished them. Kai Havertz, I disagree with him, but it's a whole. I'm not the coach. I'm not sure how Arteta is going to work with that guy. But hey, it's Arteta can get the best out of him. This is Arsenal doing the business. This is the Kroenke is responding to the fans that said you didn't back the manager before, you didn't get the signing over the line. So at the end, they proved some people wrong, including me. I didn't believe that they're gonna get all these players, so they got the players. So people just don't want to believe it. I feel like fans just don't want to believe it. They're gonna try to find holes in everything that Arsenal do. But hey, it is what it is.
Now's the time. Now's the time to perform. Now there's no, in my opinion, there's no excuses. Now there's even more pressure on Arteta and the squad, but that's what you should thrive off of at that top level and after the hurts of last season. So I'm expecting big things.
But you know what? They still need to continue.
Quick question, sorry, before you come in. Let's say, right, because right now it looks like you guys are building to compete on all fronts. Because last season, like you said, Colleen, already, when it came to the other cup competitions, you felt that the squad wasn't strong enough. But now, bringing in Havertz, who I was happy to keep a squad depth, by the way. I think he's a good option off the bench. You've got Timber, again, he can start, like Terry said. And you've got, obviously, Declan Rice looks like he's going to come in as well, right? Very, very good signings, those two, especially. What if, let's say, Arteta doesn't win anything this season coming up? Are you looking at context, or are you just what are your thoughts going to be at that point? Are you looking?
No, sorry. He has to. I mean, there's always context. Like there could be something, unbelievable or something. But I'm an Arsenal fan. We're one of the biggest clubs in England. We should be competing for trophies, and we should be winning trophies. And I don't mean the Carabao Cup. And I know halfway during his first season in the transition from Emery to him, he won the FA Cup, which was kind of his, kind of Emery's at the same time. But what's the point of all this investment? What's the point of all this, the good feelings, good vibe? Oh, we almost got the league. If there's no trophy, and I think Liam can also attest to this. Like the game is about glory, apparently. So I would like to see a trophy at the end of the season. If it's not there, questions have to be asked. You can't invest that much over 4 years? Approaching 700 million? Let's forget about net spend. I'm not going to talk about player sales and how it balances the book because I could care less about that. You can't invest that much into that squad, especially if you look at the Cronkies overall. They're a sports entertainment company. They've got several franchises across America, and they're all following this same route. And their young squads and young players are all winning. So if Arteta doesn't do that, you have to ask the question. Don't get me wrong, I love him. I love him a lot. And I expect a trophy, but if he doesn't deliver one, it's going to be hard to make the argument to say there's 4 possible trophies, isn't there?
Right.
Should be winning one. At least, and even one of them.
Context.
I feel like
you have to have context. Like if
I said at the beginning of my thing that of course context is important.
Yeah. You challenge for the league until the end, and Man City or somebody else win it with 1 point. I'm not going to sit here and say he failed. If you go out in the Champions League, losing to Real Madrid, people like to do that, guys.
I understand that. Context is key. But I got into this debate with someone the other day, separate subject, but I think the logic's the same. Where I said any Man United fan buying the new Man United kit is a glazer, and I had somebody say, "But I'm buying one for my friend's child who's really sick." It's like, of course that's okay. I'm like, it's my father has got is terminally ill. Somebody said to me, and it's his last season. He wants to have a season ticket and go. Why should he not? Of course, that's the next. Great, go do that. If we make statements and have to apply every bit of context and every scenario that could incur that we would use as an exception, do you know we would never eat? We'd starve to death because everything you'd say would take an hour to explain, right? I think I'm not having a go at you, Mo. You're right. There is context to it. But I think as a general rule, Arteta now has to start winning trophies. But within winning trophies, he's got to challenge for the Prem and he's got to be highly competitive in the Champions League. He can't come 5th and win a League Cup either. Do you know what I mean? He has to be competitive in them and win trophies. And by the way, Pep's in that space. Klopp's in that space. And I'm going to say it already. Eric Ten Hag's already there as well. So I'm not being biased in this and putting one manager in and not others. That for me has got to be the standard. It's got to be the standard.
100%. I think the expectation isn't for Arsenal to go and win the league next season. Like that's your expectation is to compete.
Why not?
Mine is. I don't know.
That's my expectations.
I'm holding them to that expectation.
Your expectation is to win the league, right? But the minimum is to at least compete. Is what I'm going to say. At least compete. But if you don't win the league, I'm not going to say that's the reason to sack Arteta. But if I'm looking at all the other trophies,
my minimum is.
Egal, let me finish my point, bro. If I look at all the other trophies that he can win, he's got to leave with something. He's got to leave with something. And I'm looking at
Denzel.
Fair enough. I'm just going to say this.
Something next season.
We have to compete on all fronts, let alone because that's the next step. The next step is try to win the major trophy like the Premier League, but at the same breath, while you're trying to do that, we can't throw away other cup competitions. We have to take them serious. Yes, if you lose a cup competition and a penalty shootout or something dramatic happens where you get knocked out in an FA Cup to a minnow, these things are tough to take at the time, but you can take it if you go on to win other things. But we can't now do a similar thing that we did last year. There needs to be a level of progression from the season prior. That is what I need to see, minimum. I cannot see a situation where we get knocked out of the Champions League, we get knocked out of all the cups, and then we come second again in the same fashion. That is, to me, is not progression.
I'm honestly going to judge Arsenal more by the league, if I'm being very honest with you, because I don't expect them to go into the Champions League and do anything. And that's me actually cutting them some slack, which is something I don't do with Arsenal a lot. Because I don't expect a team with zero European experience, sorry, not European, Champions League experience, because you do have European experience, but that's the Europa League, let's be honest. How many players in your team has played in Champions League? I think none of them. Maybe Partey, and he's not even staying. What's that?
That's not true. Gabriel Magalhaes.
Okay, one.
Gabriel, Zinchenko.
Egal. Okay, so you're trying to dig yourself a hole because I'm giving you an excuse that most of your good players.
I could easily name almost starting 11. Probably just missing the goalkeeper. And look at all the players we bought from City. We bought 2 players from Chelsea. That's 4 right there. You go through our team. We already have Gabriel Magalhaes who played in the Champions League.
It was more of me thinking about Saka, thinking about Rice, thinking about what's his name, Martinelli. I'm thinking about your essential players that don't really have that Champions League pedigree. And this is why I was actually going to cut them some slack, because playing in the league, we all know playing in the league is much more different than playing in the Champions League. Because in the Champions League, you don't need to be dominant like you are in the league. And we've seen it with City for years. They're the most dominant team in the world for about a few years. And it finally took them how many years with Pep to win the Champions League? So this is what I'm saying. I wasn't even going to rate you guys by that. However, by the league, you do have the experience. You did go last year and competed for the league. And you know where you messed up. You messed up towards the end, those last 10 weeks. So what I think is like, okay, if I'm an Arsenal player and I'm looking at the squad and we improved, what are we improving on from last year? We're trying to get to the same point we were at last year, which is competing until the last 10 games. But this time, we're not going to let our heads drop. We're not going to switch off. We're going to stay focused, and we're going to try to win the league. I see that you have a blueprint to go on, whereas in the Champions League, you really don't have that blueprint. You're used to playing more of your second like team or whatever, like in the in the Europa League and that. So getting that midweek game on Tuesdays now where you have to actually go strong with your best 11, that's something that your team hasn't done before, which will affect you guys. So I'd rather judge you guys by the league than the Champions League.
I think you're being too nice.
And this is one of the rare times, because if you always read the comments, people think I hate Arsenal. I just hold everyone to the same.
I hear you. I want to ask another question, but I want to go to these super chats first of all, because a lot of them have come through. This is from Al that says, Colleen, last year I told you link me at the coffee shop when I'm coming to London this summer. What do you think? Also, Terry, I'm not getting notifications. First of all, are you going to go on a date with my man here?
Well, I don't know what you look like, darling, so I'm not too sure.
If you're ugly, you've got a chance. Colleen likes ugly men. She likes an ugly guy. And in terms of not getting notifications, turn push notifications on. If not, you follow our Telegram group. The link's in our description below. I put all our links in there, so you're guaranteed to see it, my friend. So you got a foul safe. Thank you, bro. This year says, okay, Gal, no more excuses. Make or break year for Arsenal or Arteta out is what Debbie says.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna sit here and say make or break in the sense of Arteta out, but obviously he has a lot of pressure on him, and he probably has the most pressure out of anybody in world football going into next season.
There we go. Is Colleen single? I'm trying to raise a little Guna family.
You don't want this. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. You don't want this. I promise you.
Any lady that ever said, I don't think you could handle me, that's a red flag, run away from it. You know what I'm saying?
My heart belongs to Unai Emery, and that's it.
Arteta's whole management spend is roughly the same amount as Chelsea's first season. Shut up is what Anthony says here. Yeah, now roughly 200 million plus a year on spending under Arteta. Not that much, I think.
I think the spending talk is gaslighting, honestly.
Gaslighting in what way?
in the sense of, oh, like they always do this. You look at the money spent and you're like, oh, how many trophies did this amount of money equal? But the reality is everyone knew the project that we had and the amount of money that players cost in today's market and how much inflation has affected that we were always going to have to spend a lot of money to catch up to all the best teams.
So why isn't it the same thing for us then? Because when I speak about that logic, the exact same logic when it comes to us spending 600 million and the poor recruitment that Roman did for quite a long time since we won the league. If, oh no, you spent 600 million, so you must win the league. You must win the league. But now you're trying to
listen, you spend 600 million, you're talking to the wrong guy. You guys spent 600 million and I sat here and I said Chelsea's still finishing outside of top 4. Stop putting pressure on them. They need a rebuild. And I've been writing you guys off for well over a year. So for you to say why doesn't that rule apply? Guess what, bro? After you guys sacked Thomas Tuchel, I wrote off your season and I said anything they do, they're planning for the future. So you're talking to the wrong guy.
Okay, Fairs, you might not have said it, but Mo has said it quite a few times. We spent 600 million.
You want to compare 600 million to 200 million? Come on, just be realistic. You're almost spending $1 billion in 1 year. Rebuilding or not rebuilding, 1 billion in a year that I never heard of. So
You woke up Mo.
don't do that.
But we're
Don't do that,
building.
Don.
We're rebuilding.
Don't do
We
that,
have to.
Don.
We have to
Don't do
spend.
that.
Listen,
Eric Ten Hag got 200 million and he
Stop
got them in
comparing
the
yourself.
Champions League right away.
Stop
You want to
comparing
get
yourself to everyone else.
yeah.
You're in a
You want to get
super
you want to get a way out because you have a new manager. When you spend $1 billion, bro, you're expected to be up there. Eric Ten Hag spent 200 million, and everyone said, yeah, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He spent that much money, even though nobody expected him to do it, but he delivered at the end. Champions League football. Champions League football.
That's more my argument because I've definitely seen you, Egal, tweet when we win trophies like 700 million spend, 1 Carabao Cup. So
bullshit.
I've seen.
I've never said that.
I've seen tweets.
I sat on this show and gave you guys more credit than my club last season.
What I'm saying is, I've seen you say things about United spending in the past, but I agree with you. But now's the time to really start judging them. Now that
no one's allowed to spend a lot of money apart from my club.
Yeah,
that's my logic.
Debbie here says that to be fair, Egal, at least Chelsea does not have an owner who's not a Glazer. Glazer's out. It's true they don't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair there. I want to know what the Spurs fan thinks of Arsenal now that we've leapfrogged them.
That's not fair. Mate. That's not nice. Let him be.
No, listen. What you guys have done, I respect, because that's exactly what I've been wanting Tottenham to do for ages. Now we've got an attacking minded manager. We're spending money for real, maybe this time. There's still time left in the transfer window. I'm trying to see if we're going to do what you're going to do. I'm trying to see if our fan base is going to have the patience to back the manager. But it's not that I'm a bit jealous of what Arsenal have done, but I want to do exactly what they've done, replicate it into this squad. And that's what most football fans really want for the squad, to build a project. And if we could do something like that, I'll be very happy. But what Arsenal have done, I respect it. I do respect it. And it did take a lot of years to build that as well.
You're never going to be able to do it with Daniel Levy just wanting to hold on to whatever you guys have.
No, I get it. But there's now players coming to the end that the players that you're saying that he's holding on. I think Eric Dyer right now is being pushed, and I think
what do you make of the Maddison signing?
It's a quality signing. It brings creativity to the team, which is something that we haven't had since Eriksen. And it brings balance to that midfield, because literally every midfielder that we have in the squad is defensive minded. We finally have one that's actually attacking minded. So that brings difference to the midfield. And finally we have some balance there. But I think James Maddison is a baller. I think he's a good signing. 60 million is a good fee. I don't think we overpaid. I don't think we underpaid either. I think it's just a good deal overall. It reminds me a bit of Bissouma last season, how he kind of flopped. But no, I think he's a good signing, good player. But Tottenham fans, don't just completely forget about the fact that we need defenders now. Continue to push now for defenders. And if we sign defenders, it's a good window. We need 2 center backs, and maybe some more transfers after that. But if we get 2 center backs, I'm happy with the window.
I think Tottenham got the best signing out of Rice, Havertz, and Mount in James Maddison. £40 million for that much quality is amazing.
Better than
£40 million. I think Maddison for £40 million has a better value than all the others.
He's talking about quality for value, because
quality for value. Maddison at 40 million is better than Rice
I
at
disagree with
105.
that. I disagree with that because it doesn't matter how much Arsenal paid for Declan Rice because when he comes in and
That's his
elevates their
point.
team,
His point is that
one's
they
gonna-
got the
My
best
boy,
deal.
see, you're really
His
you
point is that
you
they
wanna
got
you
the
wanna
deal,
get
though.
one
That's
part
what
of what I
he's saying.
said, and you want to say something else, Don. I
So,
said
say
the best
that again
quality
then.
for value, bro. This is what I said.
Best quality for value, 40 million.
100%. Madison
Don,
quality for
if
value, 40 million pounds is better than Rice for 105.
I get
It's a
what
better
I get what
quality.
you're saying in terms of like, especially in
But
these days, it's
Rice
hard to
is
live up
great,
to
Colleen, guys.
Yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
who
Rice
then?
is
Who
great.
price tag?
But who's the better signing? Who's going to improve their team the most?
I think Madison improved Spurs massively over anybody else. Spurs needed a Madison amazingly. I think Madison is a fantastic player. I don't know why he went to Spurs, but I think he is a phenomenal player. He improves Spurs more than Rice improves Arsenal. That's what my opinion.
I think the difference that he makes is bigger at Tottenham than Rice
Yes.
will make at Arsenal. But here's the thing. The difference that Rice is going to make, although it's not as big as the one that Maddison's going to make, but the difference that Rice is going to make could end up getting them to win the title. For us, it's like, what is he going to get us top 4? So I would rather have that. I think what I'm trying to say is that Arsenal's deal was a better deal for them because now they're going to go win the title. We're just going to
Exactly.
push for top 4. But as a deal, I get what you're saying because the price that we paid for Maddison is more worth Madison's.
I
as a
don't
player
disagree with you,
than
Dan.
Declan
Like, if the
Rice.
difference is winning the league, yes. But I'm saying
Yeah.
the difference is gonna make a Spurs is like night and day, in my opinion. James Maddison, if he plays even the same level that he plays at Leicester, who got relegated last year, it's night and day for you. I think him behind Harry Kane, if he stays, it's just different level in my opinion. Because I rate James Maddison really highly as a number 10. I think he delivered in a terrible Leicester team last year. They were absolutely terrible, and he's the only one on the pitch that you're guaranteed that he's going to deliver. And I
How long
watch
he's
him.
gonna play
Leicester.
number 10?
I'm just gonna say this: he's a great signing for them, honestly, and they did well getting him because a lot of people have wanted James Maddison in the past.
You're gonna find a way to shit on it. Go ahead.
I'm not. All I'm gonna say is based on what he's saying right now, I don't think you can make that comparison. If you want to make a comparison, maybe make the Kai Havertz comparison to Maddison, because Maddison's a better signing than Kai Havertz. But if you're going to compare Declan Rice, which is a British record transfer fee, to somebody who went for 40 million, it's just the margin in pricing and the value and the impact that player is going to have is nowhere near each other.
Exactly that,
I mean, I think Maddison's really, really good. The one caveat and the one problem is his injury record. The guy does typically miss a couple of months a season through injury. We know how important that is. But I just want to make sure I understood you right, Mo. What you're saying is that you think the growth in the Tottenham team with Maddison being added to it will be bigger than the growth that Arsenal will see.
Yes.
Wow. So you don't see Arsenal being able to
no. See the difference. Arsenal needed one step, which is Declan Rice. Spurs needed a lot of steps to develop the team, to improve, and I think Maddison provides that. So as Dan says, if Rice might be the factor that will win in the league, but they weren't far off of winning the league. Arsenal last year, they weren't far off, but Spurs were really far behind, and Maddison adds that. And I want to correct you, and I don't mean that with all due respect. Maddison's injury record thing is an actual myth, in my opinion. I'm looking at his number. He played more than 30 games over the past 3 seasons.
Myth.
All right, Heisenberg, chill out.
Myth is something else, man.
No, but what I mean for real, like I keep reading about just Maddison's injury record, and I really went and checked. Maybe I'm like, I don't see right. He played over 30 games every season in the last 3 seasons. He didn't miss a lot of games. So he played last game, he played 30 games. The season before, he played like 34 games. Am I wrong here? That's not like he doesn't miss a lot of games as well. I think Maddison's a fantastic sign. I really thought that he would go to someone like Man United, which is different profile of player.
I thought he was going to go to Newcastle.
But because they have Bruno and they were chasing Mount, it didn't make sense for them. I thought he would go to Newcastle. They're missing. I thought James Maddison next to Caicedo and Enzo, allowing Kunku freedom up top, I think it would be great. Him at Spurs, it will work for Kane, but I'm sorry, unfortunately, it's short term. Because even if Kane stays, it's going to be only 1 year, and who's going to replace him is a big question. So,
Mo, do you think Maddison's
exactly? Thank you so much, Dan, for that.
Mo, just a quick question: do you think that Maddison's going to get them back into the top 4 then? Because that's what it sounds like.
It's like they might go for like a 4th or a 6th or something. There's the other teams are actually improving more than them.
They
But
need Son back.
We ain't
remember
getting the
that
top 4 with
Spurs
Maddison, are we?
last year actually, Spurs finished 8th. Them finishing 6th and going back to Europe again is actually good for them. Let's put that in our mind. Like Spurs are completely missing out in Europe this year. Are you playing Europe at all then?
No, we're not.
Not at all. So for you to get just Maddison for 40 million and play Europe, I know you need a lot of players. I thought you signed Langley now on a permanent deal. That's what I'm understanding that Spurs did. I thought I saw that
Did that go
rumor. Maybe
through?
it's a rumor.
Where?
Maybe that was a rumor.
Yeah, they're not. I think they're not pursuing Longley. They're letting him
They're
go.
not
Oh my
pursuing
God,
Langley.
thank
But
you,
they
God.
still a lot. They
Mo,
still
you
need a
gave me a
lot.
heart attack.
Spurs. But Ange, for me, I haven't watched the game with this guy, so I don't know. But everybody's keep telling me he's offensive, progressive.
Nor Spurs fans, to be fair.
But everybody's telling me he's very progressive, though.
I've got to do some of these super chats here because there's loads of them. This one here says United fan, if Arteta gets Kai lit and Timber kills it on the right, Potts can get Chelsea killing it. City and Liverpool back. We are going Europa, is what Kay says
So
there.
negative.
No faith in there. I will say there's been some breaking news that the add-ons for Mason Mount, the extra 5 million, is if Man United wins silverware. So
That's
well,
my
no worries
Venmo
there,
account,
then.
by the way.
they'll get that. They'll get that, won't they?
But isn't that everyone's? I don't
No, some of them are based on appearances. They're all different, really. So they're all different.
Yeah,
Spurs won last season's transfer window in July, is what Harold says here.
Yeah.
Recycled joke.
Terry, you consistently call Egal out, but don't half the time with League. You don't watch my shows with League Gunner. You don't think I call him out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say this, but how the hell can you tweet, put that message in? Me and Lee Gunner don't fight on camera. I don't challenge him. Oh my
That's literally
word.
the visual.
I'm sorry. That is a madness. I actually don't. Me and Egal have had some fiery ones, but come on now. I'm sorry to say this, bro. But that I don't even think I've disagreed with anything Egal said today. I've been a little sarcastic on a few things, but yeah.
No, we've agreed.
There's
with
still
you.
time. There's still time.
Egal's been
There's still
rational
time
so
left.
He has been a
Like,
player.
you know what it is? You guys have tried to disagree with me, but you agree with my point. Just spice it up with another
I
word.
didn't really get involved in that one, to be fair. There we go. A player's fee doesn't always equate to quality. That's very true, Tony.
Facts.
Madison is replacing Kane's deep line. Listen, if we get those Qataris, and did you see the news today from Bloomberg about?
Yep.
So
if
Jim
that's
is basically
true,
out. Yeah.
If the Qataris come in, I do believe we'll get Harry Kane because the money will go up, and we'll just go in and we'll pay whatever for him, and then that boy can come to a proper club and win some trophies.
You don't have to hurry up.
They
though,
talked
because
about it
Bayern won
yesterday. They talked about it yesterday in local news in Qatar, and it was the first time they've talked about it because I was in a space listening about it, and someone was explaining that the TV channel that broke it out is the first time they've talked about the whole thing since it happened. So they're like, the fact that they just came out now to talk about it shows, like, you know, it must be serious. Like they know stuff.
Very, very interesting with it. Yeah,
It's a smoke screen for Mike Ashley. Don't get yourselves too excited.
Yeah.
That's who I want to see.
Colleen, you're not being nice to me on the first time. I don't like that.
TBG here says Arsenal between 06 and 2015 had a net spend of plus 20 million. Retrospectively, to Chelsea fans, the circumstances are completely different. Go look at the squad values in comparison from when we started spending. I hear you on that, and listen.
Yeah, but the overarching point is that we spent a lot of money to replace a lot of players that we lost, and again to have to rebuild a lot of the recruitment, the poor recruitment that was done before. It wasn't 600 million on top of what we had. It wasn't 600 million on top of Rudiger, on top of Christensen, on top of these players. We got rid of most of these players, so we had to spend. Like Egal said, these players don't come for free. We had to spend. So people just look at that and think, oh yeah, you've got to win the league. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. No, but on top of Pulisic, on top of Havertz, on top of Werner, on top of Ziyech,
the same players.
Can I go on?
That
Do I go on or no?
The same players that we're trying to get rid of. You can't talk
Which
about
is
those
fine,
players.
bro. The difference is other clubs are stuck with their players, but your club is so smart
That's
for
not our
selling these
problem.
guys. Manchester United are stuck with some of the players because they couldn't move, but your club is smart, which is I give you props for that. Your club moved them, but the fact is you bought a lot of players.
They did good, but you seem very worried for someone who was telling me how good your club is in the state of. But hey, it's okay.
I'm not worried. I'm far from worried.
I don't know. You sound a little bit shaky. You sound a little bit shaky.
You know what I mean? I get
To be
a little
honest,
bit.
Don is always confident. To be honest, Don is one of the guys that are always confident.
This here in the comments says that to be fair, De Jong would stay at Barca because of the league and Champions League. Also, shout out to Chelsea. I guess Bowley is not just another Glazer after all. Thank you, Debbie. And she also says, I hope Rice still works out perfectly. Terry, congrats on getting Mason Mount. I better read that out. That's going to trigger Staffy again.
I'm glad he said your name, not me. So
Debbie's in a good mood today.
I don't claim Terry today.
It's okay, guys. Name the 6 players who deserve the Ballon d'Or this year.
There's only 2, Messi and Haaland.
No, Haaland deserves it more.
There we go. Why do people say 40 for Maddison when add-ons make it 60? But everyone says 65 for Havertz when the base is 50. Same thing. Oh, is it? Oh, the add-ons make it 60. Then
I
it's
don't know.
Yeah,
All
it
I'm
is 60
reading
million.
here is 40. All I'm reading is like ESPN and everything is saying 40 million.
I didn't
I
see
heard
any
McAllister.
It's 60. I saw 60.
I heard McAllister had add-ons that takes his fee up to 55. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's true.
So why don't people talk about that?
To be fair, guys, most of these players are not going to hit these incentives anyways. Because how many teams are going to win the league? How many teams are going to win the Champions League? How many players are going to win the what's it called, the Golden Boot? Those things don't really happen like that.
You know what? I don't care. We win the league. Kai Havertz, I'm celebrating with him.
This here says, I feel bad for the Spurs kid, to be honest, is what Roman says here.
Roman Abramovich.
Yeah, he's in the chat. Chelsea are doing a 4 or 5 year rebuild in 1 year. That's the reason we have spent so much money in the short term. Well, that's what they say. It's got to work, though, otherwise the spending will continue or fall off. But yeah, that's what they're doing, Dan. You're absolutely right.
Too many
are City the first treble winners to get rejected on a big signing?
I'm sure Man United must have gotten rejected.
Bayern must have gotten rejected.
Not in the summer afterwards, no.
Bayern
But
must have got
like,
rejected.
I think it's the context is like a little bit different though, because West Ham were asking for something insane, and also they had a certain limit that they were going to pay for Rice, and I think Arsenal and Arteta wanted Rice a bit more, so their limit on what they were going to pay was a bit more. If Arsenal didn't match, say for instance City just went a little bit higher and that was the only bid on table, and Arsenal didn't go for the 100, he probably would have went to City. I don't think he was like rejected or in that West Ham. It was a very particular scenario that worked out for us, but I don't think it's as black and white as that.
Some people think that Man City weren't serious about Declan Rice. They didn't want.
Just say Egal. We can say his name.
We just wanted him more. Let's be honest. They weren't as serious as we are. That's really and truly. That's where I'm going with it.
Everyone has a number that they're willing to go up to and how badly they want a player. And obviously Arsenal's was a little bit more. But if that wasn't the case, he probably would be wearing sky blue.
No, props to Arsenal though for that big amount.
Teams that are notoriously known for not going into bidding wars went into a bidding war, and Arsenal came up top.
The thing is, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
That's unbelievable, bro.
Sorry, say that again, Egal.
I said 2 teams that are historically known for not getting into bidding wars got into a bidding war, and Arsenal got on top.
But I agree. I don't believe that City don't get into bidding wars. I believe that's what they brief the media with when a player says no to them and says yes to somebody else. And why I say that? Because most clubs don't get into bidding wars. Most clubs, when they get told, Onana's highly likely to come to Man United. About 2 weeks ago, Chelsea pulled out of the deal. No, they didn't. Onana said, if I'm leaving a Man United match here, I'm going Man United. So Chelsea stepped back and away from it. Clubs don't bid for players unless they agree to join. So clearly, Rice has said, look, I'm happy to join you, but Arsenal's my preference. But as soon as City got to a point where, well, we're not going to pay above this amount, we'll match Arsenal. And he preferred... And do you get where I'm coming from? I think City looked at it from the angle of, we'll probably bid enough to make Arsenal go away. And Arsenal just said, no, you won't. I don't think that's pulling out of a bidding war because you don't get involved. That's because a player's not picked you. You know, Man United, the same with Darwin Núñez last year. We walked away from it, did we? No, we didn't. We walked away once the player said, I'm going to go Liverpool instead of you. It's called rejection. Clubs. Fans,
I don't think Declan Rice rejected Man City.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, it depends on how you say it. So this is it, though. So let me ask you this now, right? I'll use Don as an example. You're dating 2 girls, but they both want you to be their boyfriend. And you think they're both great. You're happy to be with both, but you prefer one to the other. And you get with girl A. Have you rejected girl B?
Wait, but do you?
Yeah,
If
that's
both
you're
teams would have bid the same amount,
But the point is that that's all it was. So when I say rejection, you can paint it up with his preference or whatever else. He wanted the Arsenal move. If he turned around and said, "I prefer City over Arsenal," City matched the bid, but he didn't. What
Yeah,
City
but
were
I don't
hoping
think
for-
that's the-
what
I
City
think-
were- no, I think what City were hoping for is that Arsenal didn't have the financial muscle or clout to keep going, and they did.
That's what it is.
So you
That's what I
think? So you think
that's what I
Arsenal
it
have a
is.
bigger pool than Manchester City?
No, again, you're generalizing. it.
What's that
Declan
in front of
Rice?
Egal?
Declan
Right away
Rice.
with it.
They don't have a bigger pool than Man City for every player in the world. But Declan Rice preferred Arsenal. Like this is the thing with it, right?
I don't think that's the case.
But Man City are an amazing club. Man City can attract nearly any player in the world. They attracted Declan Rice, but it doesn't mean they won't get rejected. They've been rejected before.
Terry, but you know why this one is different?
Actually, I completely
One
disagree.
second.
Both teams. I think
How I
if
look
both
at it,
teams
how I
have
look
the
at it.
same
One
fee.
at a time.
Bob,
One at a
Bob.
time. So, Mo, what do you disagree with?
So I think Man City would never have actually put in a bid unless they know that there is a little bit of an intention from the player to go there if they win the bid, right? So that means he hasn't rejected them. He didn't tell them, no, I'm not going to you. I prefer Arsenal. However, Man City valued the guy at this number, which is 90 million, 80 on 18 months plus 10. And when the bid was rejected, they said, we're done here. We don't value you more than that much. If Arsenal want to bid more, they're welcome to do it. Here you go. Take
But
it.
you know
That's
what?
how I
The
see it.
media was agreeing.
Guys, one at a time. Let me respond to that because it's just. Listen, I understand that, and that's fair logic, and I'm not going to overly challenge it. My point of view is though, if Declan Rice's preference was City, and he wanted them more than Arsenal, I believe they bid more. The thing is though, with the way transfer stories are put out now, every club has that get out of we walked away. The thing is, I don't believe it when my club say it, so I'm definitely not going to believe it when Man City say it. Everyone's club says we walked away. The value wasn't there. The player was overpriced, or the salary was too much. It's amazing how every single club uses the exact same excuses. Where 10 years ago in football, you never saw this. It was just this club got rejected or this club got picked. Now suddenly there's all these different permutations, and I just look at it as a bit of bollocks. Like you could be right, but for me, if Rice wanted Man City more, Man City get him. Simple as that.
What if you wanted?
The revision is
I think it's the
history.
opposite.
The revisionist history is amazing because going into Thursday when DiMaggio tweeted his thing, I'm seeing my dancing meme. I'm seeing people getting it. All of us, everyone's mentions are Man City are going to sign him. Man City are going to sign him. And then really and truly, there were even reports that Man City were going to go in with the second bid. So this whole thing that Man City just stepped away and backed out, really and truly, Arsenal forced their hand to do this. So
You put more money on the table.
Yeah,
I don't
that-
get
yeah, of
what
course.
do you want.
But listen, at the end of the day, this is how things work. This is business. You get your player, you take your
Exactly,
W,
and you
walk
wanted it
away.
more, so you did more. You wanted
And
it
that's
more.
why
You put more
City
money, and
win.
you got the player.
One
Same
second.
reason.
What
Hold
are you
on.
arguing
This
with?
is the same way you guys wanted Mudryk. Mudryk wanted you guys, but at the end of the day, Chelsea put more money on the table, and you guys sat there and said we didn't get
And they
rejected.
donated to
The
your
other
pension
team
fund
put
and
more
various
money.
stuff.
But now when it happens the other way, and I'm not someone to defend City because I'm not a City fan, but it's just like the way you guys pick and choose how to view things at times, it just pisses me off because it was the same scenario, but one, you guys didn't get rejected, and now, City got rejected, and we got them.
First of all, stop.
Staffy, I agree with that. Sorry, I'll go to you in a second, Egal.
He's
I agree.
lying,
I agree with you, Staffy, because again, I would say last year, Lissandro Martinez rejected Arsenal for Man United.
Facts.
So I'm consistent with that in every one of these scenarios. What I don't do is act like my club never gets rejected, but everybody else's do. I think that scenario
We
was
all get rejected, but I'm talking about the similar scenario.
Hang on, guys, let me finish. It's exactly the same scenario. So last year, Arsenal bid first. Okay, we bid. Arsenal bid. We bid. He was happy to go to both, but Man United was his preference. And in the end, Arsenal and Man United were looking at making about the same bid. And Arsenal walked away because they realized, well, if we're only making the same bid as Manchester United and we both get bids accepted, he's picking Man United. So rather than have the rejection, they used the PR line of Arsenal have pulled away from the circumstance. I look at that. That for me is just a PR version of we got rejected or we weren't the favorites. And I just don't like fluffing up the transfers to what they're not. For me, call it what it is. The player chose Arsenal or the player chose United. Or the player chose Arsenal.
I can't find the reason why a player would want to go to Arsenal.
Let me tell you.
Look at
Let me give you other
Before we
reasons
go into that,
outside of
Poor
just
Dan
football.
didn't even get to speak.
Because
yeah,
it's
didn't
not-
even speak. He's gonna
one second.
open up a can of worms.
Because okay, you know what? Go ahead. It's
Wait,
rude.
let me just say one thing, Terry.
No, wait. How are you gonna cut in? You said let the guy finish.
You're lagging
Yeah,
a bit,
you
bro.
have something
You're,
to add.
Let Dan speak. Yeah, let Dan
you're
speak.
lagging a little bit. No, because Dan's going.
Okay, go.
Dan's going into something else. Like that's a different conversation. I'm going back to what Terry said about Man City being rejected by Declan Rice. I get what you're saying to an extent, Terry, because yeah, I do agree that Declan Rice did prefer to go to Arsenal, but even Arsenal fans, a lot of them were surprised with the amount of money that they came back with, like 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons. That's something that Arsenal don't normally do, and I feel like Man City coming in and sort of bidding and showing that they're actually interested in this player kind of woke them up and said, you know what, yeah, we can't go in with a cheeky little 5-10 million extra. We've got to blow them away to get them to do what they normally do. So I don't think it's a situation where it's like Declan Rice has rejected Man City. I think Man City have looked at it like Mo said and don't value him as much as what Arsenal do.
Maybe they have, but I stand by what I say. If Declan Rice is, forget the word rejection because it triggers people.
Bayern got rejected.
If his preference was Man City, City would have matched Arsenal's bid, in my personal opinion, but the preference wasn't. On what you were saying, Dan, you don't understand why somebody would pick Arsenal over City.
Exactly. I think the case was Man City also had their fee where they were like, all right, we're not paying more than that. I think it wasn't a case where Declan Rice didn't want Man City, because why would a player not want to go to win trophies?
But that was never
it was Man City.
I'm sorry, Dan, I'm interjecting. That was never in any of the media briefs. Like, read the articles. The media briefs didn't say anywhere that he doesn't or wouldn't play for City. They said his preference was Arsenal.
I don't understand why.
And these were said by West Ham sources. Nothing to do with not Arsenal bias sources. This was coming from the most credible West Ham sources out there. Jacob Steinberg and the ex-West Ham employee all said it, by the way, for 5 months. But you don't understand it because you're a Tottenham fan. This is what I've said to a lot of people. City are amazing.
It has nothing to do with that.
It has got something to do with it. City are amazing. And of course, lots of people want to play for them. But people are motivated by Do you think all 7 of us on the stream are motivated by the same things in life?
Not really, but if you're going to offer me trophies, I'm going to go there.
So exactly, but Declan Rice does want trophies. And going to City almost guarantees them. He would be a massive part of that team and he would win them. But maybe there is a part of Declan Rice that's motivated and believes he can go to Arsenal and be a mainstay player in a team the size of Arsenal to win their first title in 2 decades. For some people, that as a motivation is absolutely massive. Otherwise, Man United would never have signed the star players we've got in the last 7 or 8 years, even though we have achieved nothing because big clubs were in for them. At the same time, there were big teams in the 90s that got rejected for smaller teams. Just read some of the interviews that go up there. Paul Gascoigne turned down Man United for Spurs. That was because of a sunbed that they offered his sister. The point I'm making is, for the history of football, Dan, amazing players have turned down bigger and better clubs for teams that publicly and outwards looking in are not as good. It's happened regularly because the motivation for everybody is so different. And as I said before, what motivates you in life is different from Mo. So if us 7 have 7 different motivations just on this panel, how can we judge all footballers the same and go, they must all only want to play for City and City only? That's never going to happen, bro.
Yeah.
I think women or men motivate all of us. So let's just get that straight. Women.
I hear maybe he wanted to.
Just get that straight. I think me and Dan, everybody here, we agree, Dan, Colleen, whatever your preference is, but let's just get that straight.
Yeah, it could be the case. It could be the case that you wanted to go to Arsenal, but I just don't think. I think if both teams put the same fee on the table, West Ham accept both fees, and West Ham go, all right, Declan, it's your choice. I don't think he would go to Arsenal over Man City. That's just my opinion, though. Maybe he wanted to go to Arsenal.
Your opinion is to negate everything Terry just said and what every top journalist said.
Literally, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but journalists. Okay, so every single.
Oh, but yeah, journalists lie.
To be honest, Dan, he did want to go.
Dan, can I spin this on you then, Dan? Because a lot of people said that Newcastle were leading the race for Maddison and you guys got involved, right? And I believe that to be the case. But because Newcastle didn't put an official bid in, is it fair to say if they did, because they're a massive club, they've got the owners, they've got the direction they're going in, they're more attractive project than Tottenham because you guys don't achieve anything? Did Maddison only come to Tottenham because Newcastle didn't bid?
I mean, I think if
Or,
Newcastle would have bid,
or
I
is
think he would have
Maddison
gone to
only a Tottenham
Newcastle.
player because Arsenal, Man United, and City didn't bid for him?
Yeah.
Is that how you view all players at Tottenham? They're only Spurs players because bigger clubs didn't want them. Is that how you view them?
I think you all have to take context as well.
See,
But
what context now?
But you did remove the context.
It's, like,
Dan. You
it's
kind of
always about if nobody else is gonna go in for him. It's a bit like what Mo said earlier about how we're talking how Maddison he makes a bigger difference at Tottenham than Declan Rice makes at Arsenal. Arsenal needed Declan Rice more than Manchester City did. They still needed a Declan Rice, but Arsenal needed more. Therefore, they were going to bid more for him. Whether he thought that he would enjoy being more in that project, it could be the case. But I just don't think so.
Maybe, and the thing is, but my theory as well, you know, if they would have, I agree. If they'd have bid the same, you think he'd have picked City. I still think he would have gone Arsenal. We'll never know. It's all theory.
Yeah.
None of us will
And
ever
Declan
know.
Rice is a gooner. You can't do nothing about it. Let's go, people. I'm out of here.
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom
I
line.
will
Stone Cold said so.
I'm very consistent with this. When Man United walk away from players and deals, I very much say the same thing. Yeah, we got rejected. I don't believe we walked away. I think it's all nonsense. I've got a lot of super chats to get through here. First one says Rice preferred Arsenal due to the importance of his service for the club. Arteta pitched an incredible vision, and Rice liked more than the City move. That's what I read. They've promised the future captain and other things.
I mean, just look at Calvin Phillips. All footballers have
Arteta took out the light
egos.
bulb.
I mean,
Arteta
what goes a long way as well with Rice is the fact that they've been onto him since January. They've been speaking to him and his team, so it shows how much they want him in comparison to Man City. That could have gone in their favor as well. There's an argument for both sides.
And the thing is as well, not everyone's motivated by the same things. Look at Jude Bellingham's family said. They didn't want City because they view it as a plastic club, like too new, too built up with just money and not through prestige. Now they've gone Real Madrid, right? So you understand it, but they wanted a club, what they call a heritage club. And some players are like, I really want to play for a United or a Liverpool or a Barca or a Bayern. Some people, that prestige is there. Others, it's I want to be part of something new and historic. They will adjust. That's Newcastle and City and Chelsea back in the day. There's different motivations for different people, you know.
Just another thing as well, just to add to that as well, like if Declan Rice wins something with Arsenal and they do a parade, let's say they win the league, for example, it's going to be way more lit than winning it at Man City. Because I've said this with Haaland. When Haaland broke the record amount of goals scored in the league, right? I just felt like it was a bit dead. I know if that was one of our clubs, like Chelsea or Man United, that one of our players did that, it would be a lot bigger than that. Do you know what I mean? So that plays another factor as well. I think it'll go a longer way if it does something with Arsenal. Let's be real.
Tevin here, it's hard to believe that players actually want to beat the best to become the best. Is that mentality lost in modern day football? Not clearly not from Declan Rice. Dan here says, okay, Dan, what are your expectations for Spurs and the rest of the other? We'll come back to that because I've got a lot of these super chats to get through. Rice knew he couldn't replace Rodri, Terry waffling. So again, I don't think he was coming in to replace Rodri. I think he would have gone into midfield and it would have been Stones that moved backwards, in my personal opinion. Rice knows ball. Gunners have next. That's simple, is what he says. City have a player value and don't go above it. Cucurella, an example. You telling me he preferred Chelsea? Again, if Cucurella would have said, no, I only want to be a City player, though, Chelsea's bid would have become irrelevant. The player has to agree to join. So it's a little bit of 6 of one and half a dozen of another. If Cucurella said, no, I only want City, Brighton accepting the bid is immaterial. Bids are only made typically when personal terms are agreed or they know they'll be agreed. So yes, he had a massive desire for Chelsea that outweighed his desire to wait and go, no, Brighton, I want to go to Man City. So yes,
Sorry, the point he's making is that Cucurella was valued to be 40 million at the time. We paid 60 for him, and Man City weren't willing to match that.
Exactly.
Pep wanted him. Pep actually wanted him, but
I understand that point. But if Cucurella said to his agents, because this is what happened with Bruno Fernandes with Man United, he said, I don't care what Barca offer or what Tottenham or Liverpool offer. I only want Man United. Those clubs walked away. So from a Lisbon point of view, it didn't matter. The player wasn't going to agree a contract with them. So I'm not saying he didn't want City, but if he didn't want to join Chelsea and he only wanted City, your bid would have been immaterial because he doesn't have to sign the contract.
Right. I get the point that you're making, but like, if he's open to both clubs and one of the clubs offered more money, right, and he's open to going to both clubs because he was open to going to City or Chelsea. I think he preferred Man City, to be fair, to work under Pep. but we offered more money. So naturally, Brighton were going to accept that offer, and City weren't going to come back.
And I understand, but then he has to have a really big. If his desire was he wanted Chelsea City more than you, he wouldn't have agreed to it because he said no. Like
But also, what club wants a player to come who doesn't want to join?
And go, I'm just going to join the club I don't want to join. One guy I remember doing that, and his name was Alexis Sanchez, and look how that went. I just don't think they do it like that. I really don't. You know.
Remind me of these things.
And by the way, the great example, boom, done. Rafinha last year, Arsenal and Chelsea offered as much, if not more, money, but they went to a lower bid with Barca because he only wanted Barca.
Yeah, but the difference is though, Todd Bowley was in it. Todd Bowley, we know he doesn't know about the game. He went to Leeds before actually going to get the player to accept terms. So he got an acceptance first before sorting out the person. Rafinha. That was the main problem there.
No, I agree. So exactly the point. Because Rafinha was like, no, I want Barca, your bid become irrelevant.
Yeah, but Cucurella was happy to come to both clubs.
Yes, I know. He's happy for both clubs, but that wasn't my point. My point was, if he wanted City only, your bid would be irrelevant. So
okay, I get that. Okay, yeah. All right.
This is the thing. I don't think it's polarized. I think it's a bit of everything. And if, like I said, my original point was, if Declan Rice wanted City outright, Arsenal's bid would be irrelevant. It would be really irrelevant.
We'll put it this way: in the Declan Rice situation, he has a year left on his contract, and say if he says to West Ham, "Listen, I don't fancy going to Arsenal. I only want to go to City. So you're going to have to accept a bid for me, otherwise I walk in a year for free." So what are West Ham, or even in the Rafinha situation, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep an unhappy player who doesn't want to be there and let them walk for free when you're valuing him touching around 100 million, or say, do you know what? We'll have to accept the lower bid because there's no one else who's going to pay that kind of fee, and he won't agree personal terms with a club that's paying more.
I hear you on that. This here says, to go further on Terry's analogy, Rice rejected the perfect 10 girl for a 7. Girl he chose is not close to looks, but more loyal and wanted him more. You could use that example.
No, he might find a part of that girl more attractive than the rest. So.
Exactly. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder? I mean, you must understand that, Dan. What was your motivation before becoming a Spurs fan?
There's literally no motivation.
Why would you do him like that?
It wasn't a bidding war. City tried to hijack. Both teams valued Rice at 90. Then then Arsenal overpaid, is what Subs has said here. This year, everyone, what's your reactions of Gundogan to Barcelona?
It was
shame to lose him.
Predicted.
Thank God.
That was a shocker, really.
Thank God. I was waiting for this guy to leave.
City got beaten on that occasion. Call you as you wish, but that is the reality, is what's been said here by George.
Yeah, but it was always in your hands, though. This is the thing. Like Arsenal were doing this flexing thing, like they came in last minute. I'm sorry, it was always in your hands, and you paid up. So well done for acting like a big club. But
that's what I said weeks ago on the top 6 here. They got angry at me. They were like, "This guy has an Arsenal agenda." I said, "The guy wants you. City has not bid yet. They're not in the race. Go and get him." They waited and waited and waited. City came in, and then they end up paying up. The only thing you did is wasted 3 weeks. Congrats for finally acting like a big club. I'm glad that
I feel like this is a little bit disingenuous.
Colleen, but you did what you were supposed to do. Because like Egal yesterday was like, everyone owes me an apology. For what, Egal? For finally doing what you're supposed to do. I can't say sorry because you did what you're supposed to do. I'll say congrats.
No, you're right, but I don't agree on like the over. For me, I feel like it's a lot of money, but I disagree with like this kind of overpaying kind
you
of.
just overbid
Colleen. Because it's about how much they're worth to that club and to that manager.
No,
so
I get what you're saying, but we're just using the valuation. We think it's a little bit too much for Rice. However, I'm glad that you guys did it because you wanted this player and you put it in your head that we're gonna get him at no cost, and you did that. That's what big clubs are supposed to do. So you did your job. That's all I'm saying. Agree. I still think it's a little bit too much, but it doesn't debunk anything because you were supposed to get the player and you got him. That's all it is.
This here says, how do I access the private WhatsApp group? If you're a legend and super fan, drop me a DM and I'll send you out the link, my friend. Thank you very much. Spurs chicken will disappear next term. Fried is what James Gunman says. It says, would much rather Madders over Havertz, no matter who we sign, still not sold on
Mikel Arteta.
Mikel Arteta. When pressure comes, he will crumble as always. Love to be wrong, though, is what Cliff says.
We'll find out.
Not getting chosen is a definition of rejection. Yeah, people love. Remember, this football Twitter's so mad. Last year we redefined the word for overachievement. We couldn't use it on Man United because we overachieved. This year says some players don't enjoy pep ball, too restrictive. Shout. Rice is not going to win anything at Arsenal, is what.
Move on from nonsense.
Here's a
please.
conspiracy that Arteta cahoots. Yeah, do you guys think Eni Aluko celebrating being right? Does anyone think Eni Aluko was right?
No, I don't think she. No, I don't think she was right. But I think the reaction to it was literally insane. Like, I don't think in that situation it happened. But for someone who's worked professionally behind the scenes at two clubs, I don't see why it couldn't be plausible generally in the world of football, considering everything else that goes on. I don't think it happened in that scenario, but I don't see why it seems like people were treating it, what she was saying, generally, that, you know, that's the one thing in football that could probably never happen. I disagree. It probably could. I don't think it happened then, but who's to say that it couldn't happen?
If she did do something like that as a director, I would like to know the context of what club she helped, because there's no way that Pep's going to help Arteta.
It was Angel City in the Women's League in America.
Oh, is that the team she was helping?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's no way that Pep would openly and willingly help Arsenal get a big player, a game changer in Declan Rice. I just don't see that. I don't see that at all. So I still think it's waffle.
I think what she said is absolutely ridiculous. I think she treated them as two friends trying to help each other. I think she's really ignored the fact that these are big organizations with big directors and people behind the scenes doing these deals. It's not Pep talking to Arteta on the coffee shop and making the deal together. There's a lot of things going behind the back in the background. It's bigger than Pep and it's bigger than Arteta. I think it was absolutely ridiculous what she said.
There we go. Remember, Van Dijk was overpriced when Arsenal got him. It's very true. A lot of people said that. There's no doubt. Thoughts on Pau Torres to Villa would be good option for Man United or Chelsea's backline, and why Man United always go behind marquee faces versus finding new faces. Go behind marquee faces and not new ones.
Firstly, we've got more than enough centre backs, and every time I've watched Torres, I've not been moved at all. I have not been impressed. Every time I've watched him.
He's an Emery signing. Like that is, to me, is a typical Emery signing. Good for Villa.
Yeah, the problem is with buying people now. You can't even buy new faces. Most people only moan unless the manager buys players they rate and like and move them emotionally. Like, it's 110%. Arsenal put 3 bids in. Hammers wanted a bidding war, and they most certainly got it. This here says, okay, Dan, what's your expectations for Spurs
for next season?
Yeah,
top 4. I don't have my expectations too high. I'm not going to say we're going to win a trophy. I'm not going to make that stupid mistake that most Tottenham fans are probably going to make this summer and say, oh, this year we're going to win the FA Cup. Oh, yeah, this year we're going to win the Carabao Cup. It's our year. It's not going to happen, man. So I think we can improve and we can progress from last season. But that all depends if we're going to end up signing these 2 centre backs. We're linked to Tapsoba. We're also linked to Mickey van der Van. So if we end up signing them 2, they're quality centre backs. I'd be a little bit more confident. But for me, the highest that we could probably end up getting is top 4.
There we go. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned in to the show today.
What's happened?
I've got to hit this button. I've got to hit this button. Manchester City accused over £30 million payments by mystery broker. Another cheat allegation. £30 million
this again.
Payment. This comes from Martin Ziedler, Matt Lawton, and strangely writing on this case for the Times as well is Piers Morgan. They are all writing about this. Another big cheat allegation lands against Manchester City here. I've got to read it, but £30 million mystery payment from a broker reportedly instead of from a sponsor. I will read and digest that article, but big accusations here of City cheating again.
I don't believe it until it's official.
Wow. There's a little snippet here that says previously unseen UEFA reports into time barring charges obtained by a new film that's being made into City's financial allegations, as seen by the Times. Stated below, the charges were time barred by CAS, but will not be if part of the 115 charges from the Premier League will not be time barred. The report states that during the UEFA disciplinary hearing, City's lawyers named the person who paid money as Jabir Mohammed and stated he was a person in the business who provided financial brokering and services on the commercial level. The report added that the obvious question not answered at any point by the club's submission of evidence, why either the sponsors should have needed any financial assistance from a broker in paying for their sponsorship. So essentially, they named the person. This guy they said it was a broker that paid the 30 million instead of the sponsors that were involved. So
They're making a movie.
Yeah, they're making a film about the allegations.
That's insane.
Bro.
Not like a Hollywood film, more like a documentary. You know, like
Netflix,
you get
a Netflix
docuseries.
like how to make a murderer, but how to
like
fake
how they did it for the FIFA one.
Yeah, how to fake a treble or
Yeah.
something like that. They're going to name it. I don't know, but I'm going to read the article later. Ooh, juicy.
Oh, you're getting your
I don't
Champions
believe
League
it
back.
until it's official. I don't believe it until it's official.
Mo's getting his Champions League back.
Juicy. But the thing is, though, this is the thing, right? That's from the UEFA, but they couldn't do anything about it, Kaz, because it's time barred. So they have admitted to using a broker to pay them money, but it was just time barred, which still means, like, I know in America, I can't remember your name, Mo, sorry, I apologize. There are certain laws you can break in certain states where if you're not charged within a certain time period, you can no longer be charged for them. That don't mean you didn't commit the crime. So interesting, but we'll touch on that more tomorrow when I've read the. Someone here says Terry is misrepresenting the information. I just read it out, bro. I didn't misrepresent anything.
He read the article, guys. He just read the article.
I just read it.
He didn't even give an opinion. We didn't even give an opinion on it.
I did. I gave a sarcastic title of the movie, but people will take that as me being serious because, again, the NVC don't understand sarcasm. Listen, everyone who's tuned into the show, thank you. Please hit the like and the share button. Please make sure you subscribe. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.